The master of the prefecture, 6. This, father, you don't need to worry about this. I will definitely try my best to learn about this and don't make a tantrum out of it. Huang Bei Yu interrupted Xiao Yuan Cheng's words. That look was as though a sensible, well-mannered, obedient daughter. Xiao Yuan Cheng had no words to say. In his heart, he was thinking about quickly moving his properties that he had accumulated many years away to someplace else. This girl had just first started to look at the account book. What can she see from this? Housekeeper Ju wasn't someone to be reckoned with either. However, Xiao Yuan Cheng's calculations about Huang Bei Yu were inaccurate. If she was someone to hold information against someone else from the account book, then she would be too weak. Huang Bei Yu already let Dong Ling go out and deliver some words, letting the housekeeper Ju bring over all the account books there were in the prefecture. That housekeeper Ju was a smart person. He secretly glanced at concubine Shui and Qin's tragic looks and Xiao Yuan Cheng's helplessness before letting someone grab them. Normally, when he made the accounts, he was very detailed. After all, he was betting that a 12-year-old girl wouldn't be able to see anything from this. The account books weren't here yet, but Huang Bei Yu quietly said another couple sentences to Dong Ling. Dong Ling smiled, walking out. No one knew what she wanted to do and no one dared to follow out. Quickly, housekeeper Ju had brought the account books over. He personally brought it over, giving it to Huang Bei Yu. They're a tall stack of account books, letting people have a headache when they had seen it. Huang Bei Yu casually flipped over one book, flipping over a couple of pages. Although she hadn't seen the ancient times account books after all, her wisdom was still the rank of a genius. In modern times, for tasks, she had dipped into economics. Therefore, this account book, she looked at it for a couple of seconds and knew what was going on. This housekeeper Ju was worthy of being a careful person. On the account book, he had made it so not a single drop of water could leak out, not even a spider's thread could be seen from this. No wonder concubine Qin had bought him, making him her trusted aide. He. On one hand, she drank tea and on the other hand, she slowly looked through the account book. In the front hall, there were many pairs of eyes staring at her, waiting for her to say something. However, she said nothing as though she was really concentrated in looking through the account book. Concubine Qin had been soaked in the lotus pond the whole day then get frightened. Now, she was unable to sit down anymore. Her body was rocking and her face was pale white. Xiao Zhongqi watched. Third sister, if you are going to look through the account books then look through them. We will go back first. Huang Bei Yu raised her head to stare at him, lazily exclaiming, Elder brother, today we are discussing family matters. In concubine Qin's hands, she had taken care of many account books as well. She cannot be absent. Xiao Zhongqi was about to open his mouth when suddenly, Dong Ling was outside yelling, just place it here. Everyone was stunned, not sure what had happened. They all turned their heads around to watch, only to see Dong Ling ordering people to carry a couple of huge boxes into the yard. There were a couple of tens of boxes, all locked with locks. There was no clue as to what was inside the boxes. Housekeeper Ju turned his head around to look and suddenly his face changed. He quickly walked out. What are you guys doing? This is my possession. How come you guys are carrying this out? Dong Ling lifted her head, grinning. We naturally know these are housekeeper Ju's possessions. If there was nothing that couldn't be seen, is it not okay to open it for everyone to see? No. Housekeeper Ju's face was red, angry but also afraid. These are my personal items. Princess cannot casually just look through my personal items, right? Personal items? Dong Ling raised her eyebrows. She glanced at the tens of boxes. Housekeeper Ju's personal items, don't you think it's rather too much? Forgive me for saying something not pleasing to the ears, but I heard that within our prefecture's storage, it had always been lacking resources. I have suspicions that someone is stuffing their pockets of the resources. If housekeeper Ju is open and candid, then take the lead and show everyone what things you have. The master of the prefecture, 7. You are speaking nonsense. I didn't stuff my pockets with the resources. How come you guys are searching through my things? Housekeeper Ju raised his neck, not letting them search through his things no matter what. Dong Ling stated, whether if there is or not, we will find out once we take a look. Housekeeper Ju, later on, Princess wants you to take people to search the other rooms. If you are not able to convince the masses, who will let you search them later on? Housekeeper Ju's face was pale white. The cold sweat dripped down and he secretly took a look at Concubine Qin as well as Xiao Yuan Cheng. Concubine Qin's face was pale white to its extremes. Xiao Yuan Cheng was also infuriated, turning around to Huang Beiyu. How come you want to search the rooms all of a sudden? This matter, this girl had never mentioned it in the past. It was sudden that they were now unexpected. Huang Beiyu laughed in her heart. Of course, she needed to do this suddenly. Otherwise, she will notify them earlier on so that they can be prepared and hide all the items. This matter, I had also only thought about it recently. Before, I just remembered, so I let Dong Ling to go do it. Huang Beiyu raised her head, smiling as though nothing happened. There was not a look as though she had plotted this before. Housekeeper Ju's personality, I believe him. He is someone that my mother had left, making him stay. He absolutely wouldn't be stuffing his pockets and colluding with outsiders to harm the prefecture of Princess Zhong. Xiao Yuan Cheng was silent. The body was faintly trembling. The anger was about to explode. Since you believe him, then there is no need to search. Housekeeper Ju is an old man of the prefecture. Now that you do this, wouldn't this harm everyone's feelings? That is also true. But now that so many boxes are carried out, if we don't search it, everyone's heart will probably not be convinced. After she finished, Huang Beiyu raised her eyes. The cold gaze faintly swept from the front hall to the yard to all the servants and maids' bodies. Everyone who interacted with her cold and icy glance all moved back. They harshly gulped their saliva. Does everyone think there should be the need to search or no? She picked up the teacup and slowly opened her mouth, inquiring. Those maids and servants all looked at each other. In the end, they all surrendered under Huang Beiyu's powerful imposing manner, all nodding their heads. Cert. After searching the housekeeper, we will then be convinced. Right, we definitely need to search it. Xiao Yuan Cheng really wanted to clap his hand on the table, dragging these servants who had moved to the other side and slaughtering them. But once he saw this type of situation, in Xiao Yuan Cheng's heart, it was also in chaos. All the things in the boxes were private treasures from the prefecture of Princess Zhong. He saw that they were pretty good, so he took them all out. One part of it, he left them down to keep for himself. Another part of it, he told housekeeper Ju to look after them. These 2 days, he was going to go around to form relationships with others, gifting the bosses gifts in order to steady his position in the military. Conveniently, his position as the emperor's son-in-law should be raised as well. All these years, could it be that his whole life, he could only be the emperor's son-in-law? He had already let housekeeper Ju make movements on the account books. Many gold coins were also transferred out. Little by little, it was all stored in Lan Mu card, ready to be sent out. Now, all these things were locked in the boxes. If they were to search the boxes, wouldn't it be revealing that he had been making housekeeper Ju making fake account books? It really was God's plans supersede our own. He should have placed the items in the space ring. But in the past, he had been thinking about gifting them to people, so he had taken them all out. Plus, how could he have possibly thought that Huang Beiyu would suddenly change as a person? However, it wasn't that easy for Huang Beiyu to search it either. The keys to the boxes, he had been personally keeping them. This type of heavy locks and metal boxes were especially used by noble families to hide items. It was not easily opened. The master of the prefecture, 8, once he thought up to here, Xiao Yuan Cheng was slightly more comforted. He silently made a look towards housekeeper Ju. The housekeeper Ju understood, exclaiming, "Princess, it's not that this servant doesn't let you search it, but that the key to this box, I had lost it a couple of days ago. Such a heavy box, today, we probably won't be able to open it. How about you search it next time? After all, this box won't be able to run away anyway." Unable to open this, Huang Beiyu slowly played with the leaves within the teacup. She suddenly smiled and took out a black dagger from her space ring. "This is the icy dagger that the Lord's father had just gifted me. I heard that it peels metal off as though it was mud. I'm not sure if I am able to use this to open the lock. Dongling, you go try this. Yes. Dongling walked up to pick up the dagger. Xiao Yuan Cheng quickly stood up. No. Huang Beiyu raised her head to ask, why not? Even if that lock is damaged, I will repay a better one to housekeeper Ju. Xiao Yuan Cheng's face was turning ugly and the two hands tightly formed fists. The bones were cracking. Huang Beiyu stared at his expression and coldly laughed. Today, she was only punishing an individual to set an example for others. She definitely will search that housekeeper Jew and take the evidence that he was stuffing his pockets with resources. Next, she will have the excuse to reorganize the financial affairs within the prefecture without restraint. That housekeeper Jew, today, she must teach him a lesson. She didn't care if Xiao Yuan Cheng would let her or not. Huang Bei, you wanted to do the things. You have the ability to stop me. The Lord's father had already said so today, for me to tidy up the family manners. There must be someone to take the lead. Housekeeper Jew, all these years, you had contributed to the prefecture a lot and am old now. Don't blame me for making it feel as though you are wronged. It's all those who resort to a negative style of manner and stuffed their pockets who were traitors, causing mischief. When this princess catches them, I will harshly peel their skins off and help you vent your anger. It was still good when housekeeper Ju hadn't listened to this, but when he heard this, goosebumps appeared all over his body. Peel off their skins. There was no one here who dared to take Huang Beiyu's as a joke. Today, the harsh methods in which she killed the servant, everyone had witnessed this. Who dared to be suspicious that she was just joking? Housekeeper Ju hurriedly cast a look towards Xiao Yuan Cheng, begging for help. This Huang Beiyu was the real daughter of the Lord. As long as the Lord had made an order, so what if she was the princess? Could it be that she will refuse her own father? Xiao Yuan Cheng also had this decision in mind. But he knew that Huang Beiyu was no the normal type of daughter. This girl, with one mouth, was able to make things seem more exaggerated and such. He needed to think about what to say. Looks like even father had agreed to this. Dongling, open the box. Xiao Yuan Cheng was not even given time to think about what to say when Huang Beiyu had already commanded Dongling. Dongling moved quickly, bypassing housekeeper Ju, and the dagger had landed. The lock heavily landed on the ground, and when housekeeper Ju saw this, he pounced on it. The entire body pressed down against the box. Housekeeper Ju, what are you doing? In this box, could it be that there are some things that we shouldn't be seeing? Dongling turned her head around to inquire. Housekeeper Ju shook his head continuously. No, there is nothing. Xiao Yuan Cheng yelled, enough. What is there to search? Beiyu, you had done enough disturbance today. Go back to your room and rest. Disturbance. Huang Beiyu's face slowly turned cold. She dropped the teacup, standing up. What father had said made my heart feel chilling. Today, the Lord's father had made clear to me to tidy up the family manners. I am young, so I am afraid I won't be able to convince the masses, so I wanted to start from housekeeper Ju in order to set an example. However, the father is saying that I am making a disturbance. Beiyu had placed a lot of thoughts into this. Isn't that all for the prefecture of Princess Zhong? But it's going over the lines by searching through the rooms. Xiao Yuan Cheng shouted. That box had been opened. If the items inside were seen by everyone, then he would. The master of the prefecture, 9, going over the lines? Well, the father can go out and make some inquiries. Which family in the capital has not searched the rooms before? I was just punishing a little to prevent a bigger mistake. Compared to other families, this is still called going over the lines. Huang Beiyu directly walked out. She walked to the door and raised her fingers, saying, what are you standing here for? Quickly help the housekeeper Ju up. A couple of stunned servants, as soon as they heard Huang Beiyu's orders, they subconsciously followed the commands. They walked over and pulled housekeeper Ju up, who was holding tightly onto the boxes as though an octopus. Dongling opened the cover of the box. At that moment, golden bright lights assaulted people's faces. In there was actually a whole box of golden treasures. There were many different kinds of delicate items, and on the top, it was embedded with different colored gems. That type of light nearly blinded one's eyes. The housekeeper, all of a sudden, was like a balloon that had air leaking out. He fell limp on the ground. Dong Ling consecutively opened the other boxes. Each time she opened one, the surrounding people will all let out a cold gasp. In these boxes, it contained all valuable golden and silver wares. There were also antiques, paintings, jade artifacts, coral, pearls, etc. They were a dazzling sight to the eyes, leading it to be a feast for the eyes. Huang Beiyu stared at the housekeeper Ju, who seemed to be flattened. In her heart, she was cheering for herself for catching him. She just wanted to open her mouth to let people beat him up with sticks and force him to say who was the person that made him hide all these items is. He was just a small housekeeper. Even if he had a lot of courage, he definitely would not dare to steal that many items from the prefecture of Princess Zhong. Does he take those brilliant concubines to be blind people? She hadn't opened her mouth when Xiao Yuan Cheng had already done so, screeched at him. What a great servant for lying to your superiors and hiding it from your kind. You dared to secretly store all these valuables. Do you know what crime you're committing right now? Xiao Yuan Cheng walked out, kicking the housekeeper Ju over. If there was a sword in his hand, he probably would have killed him with a sword already. Housekeeper Ju answered, scaredly, this person understands that he is wrong, understands that he is wrong. These things, this person didn't secretly store them. I was trying to place them and then carry them into the storage room. If it was supposed to be carried into the storage room, then how come you wouldn't let us search it before? Dong Ling wasn't that easy to be lied to. She immediately inquired. Housekeeper Ju responded, it's because this person is afraid that this person will be accused by the princess. Nonsense. The princess can distinguish the right from the wrong. How could she accuse wrongly of you? I see that you are probably just lying to us. Dong Ling yelled, raising her hand. At this time, she was not afraid of that Xiao Yuan Cheng. Lord, secretly storing these valuables is a serious crime. Based on this maid's views, he should be sent to Ting Wei Sai for them to investigate this. Ting Wei Sai, if he was sent to Ting Wei Sai, then what good would that be? That Ting Wei gang was famous for being upright and plain-spoken. If he were to investigate this, then the whole prefecture of Princess Zhong will be under investigation. Then at that time, no one would be able to escape. Family shames must not be spread abroad. If this matter were to be revealed, there will be many people watching a joke. Why send him to Ting Wei Sai? Xiao Yuan Cheng lowly hollered. Father is saying the right thing. Huang Beiyu looked at the boxes filled with treasures and her face was icy cold. Housekeeper Ju, my mother, when she was still alive, she treated you not badly. What you had done today really opened lens to a new world. Princess, show some mercy. Housekeeper Ju kneeled on the ground. He was shaking and kept on asking for mercy. Huang Beiyu responded, if I were to send you to Ting Wei Sai, based on your crimes, not only will you die but your wives and children will all be on the book of servants. In the master's house, stealing, the faces will be marked with the stamp of a servant. This whole life, you won't have a day where you will be free. Housekeeper Ju kept on trembling and the teeth were chattering. He secretly raised his head towards Xiao Yuan Cheng and concubine Qin. These precious treasures, he won't be able to obtain any of them. However, he was doing this for the lord and concubine Qin. If something were to happen to him, they probably won't let him just take on the crime names himself, right? The master of the prefecture, 10, however Huang Beiyu changed the word, faintly exclaiming, housekeeper Ju had been in the prefecture of Princess Zhong for many years. You have done a lot of labor. Although you had made a mistake and was confused, however, your crime isn't serious to the point where you need to die. You also don't need to be sent to Ting Wei Sai. Housekeeper Ju let out a sigh. Xiao Yuan Cheng also let out a long sigh of relief, secretly feeling lucky. Only concubine Shui slightly scrunched her eyebrows. How would this girl easily just let this go? If she didn't use this chance to go all out, then what was the point of going through all that work from before? As she thought about this, she heard Huang Beiyu slowly explaining, today, we had searched so many items from the housekeeper Ju's room. Most likely, from before, there was even more. After I checked the account books and match it with the items within the storage room, all the things missing, As long as housekeeper Ju returns them all, then it will be fine. Housekeeper Ju rapidly lifted his head. Princess, all these things, no matter whether you hid them or sold them, since housekeeper has the courage to steal these items, then most likely all these years, you've gained a lot of profit from this. You need to think of ways to make up for this. Huang Beiyu glanced at him, coldly announcing this. Housekeeper Ju was flabbergasted. All these years, all the things missing from the prefecture of Princess Zhong, she is making him carry the blame for all and compensating for this. Then wouldn't be become the foolish one? He was just helping someone do their things, and although he had gotten many rewards all these years, how was it enough compared to these precious treasures? This matter of compensating, even if the lord or concubine Qin does this instead, they might not even be able to compensate for all. All these years, all the things that they had sold from the prefecture of Princess Zhong, they probably aren't even able to keep track of this. Housekeeper Ju thought that this matter had already turned into a huge issue, not something a small housekeeper was able to endure. He raised his head to look at Xiao Yuan Cheng, only to see that his face was filled with gloominess and harshness. He looked Pei Yu, who stood by concubine Qin's side, sinisterly. Housekeeper Ju's heart was chilly. That Pei Yu was his only daughter. By concubine Qin's side, she was a maid who delivered tea and water. Concubine Qin said that she would treat her as though her own daughter. In the future, when it was time for her to marry, she will be married according to the manner of a young lady. His wife had died early on, and he, himself, was one who wasn't able to give birth. He was depending on this daughter to look after him when he was old. However, what was Xiao Yuan Cheng's meaning right now? He was going to use Pei Yu to threaten him? As long as he assumed the crimes, later on when discussing compensation, it will naturally come by slowly. Xiao Yuan Cheng will have to think of ideas for him. Huang Beiyu was such an intelligent person, and no one would be able to win against her when talking about mental tactics. She slightly looked at Xiao Yuan Cheng and housekeeper Ju's face and knew right then what ideas they were trying to play at. The corner of her mouth slightly curled up into an angle, and she glanced at Dongling. Her eyes floated to Pei Yu by concubine Qin's side. Dongling was a smart girl. She knew what was going on. Smiling, Sister Pei Yu, normally, I have been seeing that you are different from the other maids. Whether it was the things you eat or wear, it was not any worse than how a master would be treated. As it turned out, housekeeper Ju has many side doors. It was no wonder that the outsiders are saying that Pei Yu from the prefecture of Princess Zhong was the real young miss. Pei Yu's face turned pale white. She hurriedly kneeled down, panicking. Concubine, princess, this maid didn't Every time this maid goes out with the concubine was always the one well-regarded How could this maid be compared to the concubine? Oh! Dongling grinned again. Sister Pei Yu is saying that the concubine is well-regarded. How well-regarded? Concubine Qin kicked Pei Yu over. If you don't know how to speak, then shut up. Saying that out loud, they will be using this against us. Such an idiot. The master of the prefecture, 11, Dongling Gunyang, 1, this servant has a stupid mouth. How could you take her words seriously? How can there be empty words in this world? Moreover, concubine's beauty isn't only seen by Pei Yu Jejie, too, this servant has also seen it. Dongling smiled as she said, but concubine Qin's maternal family is the prime minister's residence, which is rich and powerful. So it's only natural for them to live a well-off and glorious life. Concubine Qin forced a smile. This little girl's words are full of traps, just like her master. How could she dare to respond? If she responds, she might accidentally fall into her trap. Her maternal family is indeed glorious. The Prime Minister's residence is a big title. It is different from concubine Shui. If they want to investigate later, the investigation would start with concubine Shui first. Seeing the normally arrogant and glorious concubines, young masters, and young misses in the lobby, all of their faces turned pale white. While the unfavored and powerless concubines and young misses started to gloat in delight. They were all waiting to see a good show. Huang Beiyu walked slowly from the door to the corridor. Dongling immediately went up to her and supported her hand. The people sitting in the hall didn't know what she was going to do, so they all followed her. After so many years, I originally thought that the family property left behind by my mother would be well managed by the steward, well cared for by my father, and highly valued by the various concubines. Who would have thought that after only 4 years since my mother had left, the residence is already completely overturned? Steward Ju, the surprise you gave me today isn't small. Huang Bei Yu glared at Steward Ju, who is kneeling on the ground and kowtowing. Princess, please spare my life. I am not greedy, this is real, really, don't talk nonsense. If you want to fool me again, I will send Pei Yu to the border to serve as a military prostitute. Huang Bei Yu's crisp shout shocked everyone. Someone come and beat him. Beat him until he speaks the truth, Huang Bei Yu loudly commanded. Those servants are new to the residence. Just a moment ago, they were bribed by Dong Ling. So now they naturally listened to Huang Bei Yu's command. They took out a thick stick and pressed Steward Ju to the ground, ruthlessly hitting him with the stick. These new servants did not have much status in the residence and were being suppressed at every turn. Their resentment against Steward Ju wasn't a 1-day or 2-day thing. Now, this was a good opportunity to vent it all. Princess, have mercy. This humble one has been wronged, this humble one has been wrongly accused. Princess, this is obtaining confession through torture, Steward Ju screamed his lungs out. That stick was ruthlessly beating him, and yet he still didn't spit out the truth. Huang Bei Yu stood on the steps, looking at him coldly. She suddenly said, drag Pei Yu out and hit her too. Princess, please spare this servant. Pei Yu cried as she knelt down, tightly holding onto the hem of concubine Qin's skirt, not wanting to let go. Right now, it was already hard for concubine Qin to protect herself, so how could she care about this girl? She lifted her leg and kicked her. The 2 servants came over and dragged Pei Yu out. They threw her in the yard and hit her with a stick. Father, save me. It hurts, father. Pei Yu has a delicate and tender body. How she withstand such a staunch rod? It only took a few moments for her to start screaming like a pig that is being butchered. Steward Ju's but had been beaten so badly that it blossomed. He had been enduring it with all his might for his daughter. But now that his daughter was being tortured, he raised his head and finally asked Xiao Yuan Cheng for help. Xiao Yuan Cheng's expression was ugly. He couldn't intervene in this matter at all. First, it was because Huang Bei Yu's power is unfathomable. The person behind her was someone that even the old master was wary of. He didn't dare to provoke her. Secondly, in Princess Zhong's residence, Princess Bei Yu was the true master. 1. Gunyang, girl or young lady. 2. Jejia, older sister. The master of the prefecture, 12, after all, his surname was Xiao. If Huang Bei Yu wanted to be in charge of this, he wouldn't be able to stop this. This housekeeper Ju, in the past, he knew too many things about him. Plus, this matter, he also needed a scapegoat. Might as well let Huang Bei Yu beat him to death. A dead person's mouth is the most reliable. At this time, as long as he saved Pei Yu, housekeeper Ju would be willing to die for him. Once he thought up to here, Xiao Yuan Cheng exclaimed to Huang Bei Yu, the person who made a mistake is her father. It has nothing to do with his daughter. Let Pei Yu, that girl, go. When he listened up to this part, housekeeper Ju understood. Xiao Yuan Cheng wanted him to become the scapegoat. Letting Huang Bei Yu beat him to death would be able to save his daughter, Pei Yu's life. Was this exchange worth it or not? Cold light flashed by Huang Bei Yu's eyes. She will not grant their wish. Humph, housekeeper Ju, this crime. He had stolen things from the prefecture of Princess Zhong. Even if he was sent to Ting Wei Sai and sentenced the whole family to die, this was still considered a light punishment. Plus, the debt of a father, the daughter will have to compensate for it. This housekeeper Ju would not plead guilty, so his daughter either will be sent to Ting Wei Sai as a military prostitute or throw her out of the prefecture after making her handicap. No. I plead guilty. Housekeeper Ju began yelling as though heartbroken. Stop. Princess, please stop. This person will speak the truth, will speak the entire truth. Huang Bei Yu slightly raised her hand and a couple of servants halted. Even the sticks contained bloodstains. Housekeeper Ju climbed over, hugging his daughter, Pei Yu. The tears fell down the face. As long as the princess promises to keep my daughter safe and for the rest of her life to live by peacefully, I will say everything. Housekeeper Ju, you are trying to bargain with me? Huang Bei Yu faintly inquired. Housekeeper Ju, this person doesn't dare to. It's just that this person only has one daughter. Although it is not pitiful for me to die, this matter has nothing to do with Pei Yu. She is innocent. Princess, please investigate thoroughly. Huang Bei Yu nodded her head. Pei Yu is innocent. I naturally know. It's just that the mistakes that you committed involved her in this matter. However, if you are willing to say the truth, from now on, Pei Yu will follow me. In the future, I will find a good person for her to marry and give her a generous dowry. Kindness and prestige are both revealed. Only that way will it convince the masses. Okay. In front of everyone's faces, this person believes the princess's personality. Housekeeper Ju slowly got up and his trembling hand pointed towards Xiao Yuan Cheng. These things, it's the Lord who wanted me to secretly store them, taking them out from the prefecture's storage room and replacing it with fake items. For a portion of them, he wanted me to go to the pawn shop and exchange them for gold coins, and another portion of it, he wanted me to gift them to the imperial capital's officials, babbling nonsense. Xiao Yuan Cheng hollered. Audacious servant. You dared to accuse me. See if I don't kill you today. Xiao Yuan Cheng raised the palm of his hand and condensed the vitality. It was about to hit the housekeeper Ju when Huang Bei Yu pulled off a hairpin from her hair and the hairpin struck him. The strength wasn't that hard but enough for Xiao Yuan Cheng to immediately place his hand back. What is father doing? Whether he is accusing you or not, we will find out after investigating later. How come you want to kill him? Other people will think that it's because you are guilty, so you want to kill him so he doesn't say anything else. Huang Bei Yu icily declared. Xiao Yuan Cheng's face was turning red. He held onto his wrist, which was in pain, harshly stating, this audacious servant dared to climb on the master's head. Concubine Qin also stood up to add on. Princess Bei Yu, a servant's words, how could you believe it? Are you actually going to be suspicious of your father due to this? Whether suspicious or not, I am only looking at the evidence. Concubine Qin doesn't need to say anything more. I also believe that the Grand Emperor's son-in-law would not dare to such a corrupted thing. The master of the prefecture, 13, Xiao Yuan Cheng's face turned slightly unnatural. He softly coughed. This servant who casually spoke his mind, it's better to beat him to death. Otherwise, he might ruin our prefecture's reputation. Lord, this person had been loyal to you for so many years and done so many things for you. It's fine that something is wrong and you're not helping, but you dare to think about killing me to keep the secret. Housekeeper lifted his head angrily. If you keep on talking nonsense, do you believe that I will kill you? Housekeeper Ju, Lord doesn't need to threaten me. Today, the matter had revealed itself and the Lord dared to pretend as though you didn't know this. Then I don't need to hide and keep it from everyone. All the precious treasures in the prefecture's storage room, if I didn't have the Lord's keys, then how am I able to take them out? The overbearing sentences made by housekeeper Ju made Xiao Yuan Cheng flustered and exasperated. His eye sockets were on the verge of splitting. You are framing me. Humph. Framing? Lord is the Emperor's son-in-law and I am just a small housekeeper. Why would I find the need to frame you? The keys to the prefecture's storage room, you have been the one keeping them. Only you are able to open the storage room. Without you, how could these treasures be transferred out? Xiao Yuan Cheng was speechless. Huang Bei Yu straightened her back and suddenly coldly announced, enough, all shut up. Housekeeper Ju closed his mouth. Xiao Yuan Cheng also guiltily closed his mouth. He thought about it before exclaiming, Bei Yu, this father, enough, you don't need to explain. This matter, I will investigate thoroughly. Father, give me the keys to the storage room. I will open to see just how many items are missing. This key isn't on me. Huang Bei Yu suddenly turned her body around. In the clean pupils of the eyes, there was indeed a chilly ray of light. Father, in front of everyone's faces, I am the daughter so I can't lose faces for you. But this matter involves the prefecture of Princess Zhong, and I am the first daughter of the First Lady. Mother isn't here, so I am the one in charge of the prefecture. As the master of the prefecture, that storage room originally should be managed by me. Starting from today, the father doesn't need to worry about it. Every sentence was icy and cold, revealing anger that led people to feel chilly. The master of the prefecture. These 4 words were like thunder, striking on Xiao Yuancheng's head. He was infuriated and felt shameful. He was a 7-feet man, but he has no privilege within the prefecture to manage anything. On the other hand, a 12-year-old girl dared to make sarcastic comments and gesticulate at him while talking. If he gave the key to the prefecture's storage room, then that is saying that he was giving away the power of about half the prefecture. How could he be willing to do so? You're young. What do you need that key for? If you end up meeting someone that is dangerous and is lied to by a couple of words, then doesn't that mean absurd? Huang Beiyu angrily shouted. Her hands pointed at the boxes outside. Look at what those are. Human testimony and material evidence are both here. I just need to bring Ting Wei Sai over to carefully check this. What things can't be investigated? You dared to cover this. I am young, but my eyes are not blind. Father, you are so disappointing. The family matters. Do we really need to startle Ting Wei Sai? As soon as Xiao Yuancheng heard that she was going to ask for Ting Wei Sai to investigate this, he started to be worried. The laws of Nanyi country are strict and the punishments are even harsher. All the past emperors of Nanyi country all loathe frauds and greediness. No matter whether it was bureaucracy or affairs of the nation or family prefecture matters, as long as they were caught and brought to Ting Wei Sai, then they would be punished severely. He was the emperor's son-in-law and he was corrupting the financial affairs of the prefecture of Princess Zhong. The punishment is worse. If the father is willing to admit the error and feel regretful about it, looking towards the relationship as father and daughter, how could I go and startle Ting Wei Sai to come and catch the father? But today, Lord. Concubine Qin frightfully hollered from the back. She was trembling. If this matter were to startle Ting Wei Sai, then none of them could escape. The master of the prefecture, 14, Xiao Yuancheng, is also aware of the weight of the matter. The Huang Beiyu right now is different from the trash in the past. If it was that trash from the past, he could have locked her up in the floating cloud pavilion and never let her out. But today, in Lingyang College, he had personally witnessed her deal with Lin Wenyi and Lin Zicheng. Furthermore, she had killed a servant at home. Even Xiao Qi Yuan had personally come to express his goodwill, so who would dare to touch her now? This girl can't be offended right now. Just by making her slightly unhappy, she had actually invited people from the Commander of Justice to come here. With such a big matter, it would definitely alarm the emperor. The emperor had already suspected that Xiao Yuancheng has been cruel to Huang Beiyu. If the emperor catches his weakness, then his career as an official would be ruined. After thinking it over and over again, Xiao Yuancheng decided to abandon the car to protect his honor. After all, the path of an official was more important. He had also hidden quite a sum of wealth over the years. It shouldn't be a problem for him if he leaves his relationships behind. Honestly speaking, Princess Zhong's residence's treasury is basically an empty shell now. The treasures inside the treasury are mostly fakes. What's the use of a guard to guard those worthless things? After thinking about it, Xiao Yuancheng sighed. He slowly took out the key from his chest, handing it to Huang Beiyu. Huang Beiyu received it and slowly said, "Dong Ling, thoroughly interrogate Steward Zhu to report all the treasures that were smuggled out previously. Also, make sure to report all the correct tax revenue that Princess Zhong's residence had collected over the years." Xiao Yuancheng said in dissatisfaction, "Beiyu, are you really not trusting your father? Father, you have a lot of matters to handle, so you had overlooked a few things. How could I trust you? How could things have gotten to this point?" Huang Beiyu said coldly. Xiao Yuancheng's expression was unhappy. This girl has really rebelled. She actually dared to teach him a lesson. However, the matter had already been cleared up. After the interrogation, Steward Zhu would reveal all the items he had kept hidden for so many years. Paper can't cover fire, nothing could be concealed. Humph. The reason I'm using the property in this house is for this family. Do you think it's easy for me, all these years? Your mother has been dead for many years and I don't have a high position in the military. If I didn't use this money to manage this residence, do you think that Princess Zhong's residence can remain peaceful until now? Father is confused. Huang Bei Yu tried her best to suppress her voice to prevent her anger from erupting. If you want to manage the residence, you can give it out openly. For the sake of Princess Zhong's residence, would I say no? But now, it's like you've been caught like a thief. If this gets out, how many people will laugh at us? Xiao Zhong's face and ear turned red as he said, since this matter has already passed, let it pass. No one is allowed to bring it up again, much less spread it out. Huang Bei Yu snorted coldly and instructed Dong Ling, take Steward Ju to the Flowing Cloud Pavilion and interrogate him. After finishing her sentence, she turned to look at concubine Shui. I remember that for many years, it has always been concubine Shui who manages the Princess Zhong's accounts, right? Concubine Shui's face stiffened. How come she's asking for the account books for the land deeds so quickly? She's so quick to cut through the mess and muddy waters, not wasting time at all. This decisive and fierce character, why did it not resemble Princess Zhong's gentle character at all? Yes, I'm in charge of all of it. Concubine Shui said hoarsely. She was in charge of Miang region's accounts and concubine Qin was in charge of the Qinghe region's accounts. Everyone in the household knew about this matter. Hence, even if she wants to put the blame on someone else, she can't. I'm sure that concubine Shui has managed Miang region's account very well. Let Xia Chun go get it so I can have a look. The master of the prefecture, 15, concubine Shui, on the other hand, wasn't worried or frightened. She ordered for Xia Chun to bring the account books over. She always has been a detailed person, knowing to leave a road behind her. She was different from concubine Qin, that type of idiot mind. The matter of the account books, she never had someone else done it. She always did it herself. Therefore, she wasn't worried that it might implicate her in when they were interrogating housekeeper Ju. Xiao Chun brought the account books over to Huang Bei Yu. She flipped one open, glancing at it and not looking anymore. She knew the type of person concubine Shui was. She wouldn't easily let her be able to use the information against her. Therefore, she didn't spend time arguing based on this matter. She took the account books and let Dong Ling bring housekeeper Ju and Pei Yu before going to Liu Yunji. Housekeeper Ju was carried into Liu Yunji by servants and Huang Bei Yu had ordered for them to interrogate him properly. If he confessed everything truthfully, then she might let him go and let him bring Pei Yu home to enjoy the rest of their lives. At this time, housekeeper Ju was completely disappointed with Xiao Yuan Cheng. Therefore, he had confessed everything. He told them about how he helped concubine Qina and Xiao Yuan Cheng make fake account books, how he used fake items to transfer the precious treasures within the prefecture's storage room out, as well as where taxation that concubine Qin had gotten from the region Qinghe was used towards, etc. When Dong Ling had finished interrogating him, she had locked housekeeper Ju and Pei Yu into one side room. Then she went inside to report this to Huang Bei Yu. When Huang Bei Yu was finished listening to this, she faintly smiled. This housekeeper Ju knows what's best for him and is smart. This concubine Qin had found him and made a wise decision in doing so. However, it's because housekeeper Ju was too smart that this time, concubine Qin might not be able to sleep. How can she be able to sleep tonight? Look at her expression today. When housekeeper Ju is really caught, she probably wouldn't even dare to close her eyes. Dong Ling also grinned. Huang Bei Yu pondered over it before exclaiming, "Isn't Xiao Yuan Cheng afraid that his scandals would be spread to people? You go look for a servant and let him make this matter publicly known. The best if the whole city ends up knowing about this." "Yes, young miss." Dong Ling happily left. The room was quiet now and Huang Bei Yu picked up 100 Ways of Refinement scroll up again. She flipped through the scroll. She wanted to wait until the day is dark and then go out to find family Bug's Luo Luo. Concubine Qin's Qiu Rong Yuan at this time, within the room, came crashes and bangs as well as concubine Qin's swearing. That slutty girl. How come she dared to show off herself? Mother, just be quiet. Later on, If someone hears it and it goes to her ears, it's another thing she can use against. Xiao Ru and Xiao Zhongqi sat next to each other, watching as their mother smashed things. Who dared to go and notify her? As concubine Qin exclaimed this, she seemed to remember something. She raised her head to inquire, "Where's Pei Xiong?" All the maids in the room all shook their heads, petrified. Concubine Qin glared and shouted, "Go tie Pei Xiong, that wench in." A couple of maids hurriedly went out and coincidentally, they saw Pei Xiong at the door. They rushed to say, "Sister Pei Xiong, the lady is looking for you." "Oh, what is the matter for which the lady is looking for me for?" Pei Xiong was not startled or scared. She faintly smiled, walking in. "Why is the lady having such a huge attitude for? If you hurt your body from being angry, then that isn't good." Concubine Qin was angry. "You're a slut. When did you and Huang Beiyu, that slutty girl, collude with each other?" Today at the Lotus Pond, Pei Xiong's attitude towards Huang Beiyu made her suspicious of her already. It's just that a lot of things happened after that, so she didn't have time to look into it. Now, she finally understood. As it turned out, by her side, there happened to be a spy by her side without her knowing. "I am advising for concubine Qin to keep your mouth clean. The third young miss isn't like the third young miss in the past. If she had heard this, you will suffer from this." The master of the prefecture, 16, slut. What kind of attitude is that? Xiao Ru slammed the table and stood up. This Pei Xiong used to be a very capable maid that followed by her mother's side. How could she? "Fourth miss, I won't hide it from you. Right now, I am third miss's servant. Even if you want to hit a dog, you have to look at the owner. You should try to stay sensible," she smiled triumphantly. Concubine Qin's sinister gaze swept over and she said angrily, "You, a lowly servant, dared to betray me and joined Huang Beiyu's side. That's great. You really have grown up. All these years, I've raised an ingrate. Concubine, what betrayal. In Princess Zhong's residence, there is only a proper master, Princess Beiyu. As servants, we are completely loyal to our master, so how is it betrayal? She's the real master. Why didn't you treat her as the real master before? Haven't you done enough bad things to her before? Aren't you afraid that she will seek revenge after she finished using you?" Concubine Qin said as she smiled sinisterly. Pei Xiong felt goosebumps all over her body, but she still said firmly, "Concubine, don't worry. Third Miss's character is different from yours." Yes, Pei Xiong thought for a moment and said, "Concubine, based on the many years of the relationship between us as master and servant, I advise you to give the third miss the Qinghe region's account. You should also report the amount you have secretly taken. Otherwise, you will regret it in the future." Concubine Qin's face was pale. Her vision was filled with darkness and her body swayed a few times. She almost fell face first onto the ground. Luckily, Xiao Zhongqi had reacted quickly and was able to support her. "Mother, there's nothing to say to this slut who turned on her master. Let's see if she can still act so arrogantly after I kill her." In a fit of anger, Xiao Ru pulled out the sword hanging on the wall. "Ruer," Concubine Qin said as raised her hand to stop her. She looked hesitant, and after some thought, she said, "Let her go." Just like what Pei Xiong had said, she was now Huang Beiyu's person. Even if they were to beat a dog, they would have to look at their master first. They couldn't afford to offend a deity like Huang Beiyu right now. Concubine Qin is sensible. Pei Xiong smiled and said, "The matters regarding first young master, concubine will have to rely on Princess Beiyu. So you shouldn't keep the tax affairs of Qinghe region a secret. Otherwise," Concubine Qin bit her lower lip. Xiao Zhongqi said, "She doesn't need to care about my matters." Pei Xiong was very afraid of this fierce young master, so she didn't dare say much. She only needed to look at Concubine to know that she had already frightened her. Having achieved her goal, Pei Xiong didn't linger any longer. With a smile, she left. Once she left, Concubine Qin's legs became soft. She sat down on a chair, looking frightened. "Mom, don't worry too much. I'll go check on third sister and see what she means," Xiao Ru said. "Yes, Ruer, go and find out what she wants to do to us." Concubine Qin seemed to grasp at hope, and suddenly she seems to have strength again. Xiao Ru nodded her head before leaving. Concubine Qin held onto Xiao Zhongqi's hand and muttered, "That Huang Beiyu, why did she suddenly? Mom, if she really dares to do anything to us, we'll just fight her to death." "She can forget about living well," Xiao Zhongqi said fiercely. Concubine Qin's eyes immediately began to be filled with tears. She cried, "I just can't accept it. After all these years of painstaking effort, will it all come to waste?" Xiao Zhongqi frowned and asked, "Mother, about the accounts in Qinghe region, did you really?" The master of the prefecture, 17, "If we don't make movements on there, how would we have enough money in order to organize everything all these years? How would I be able to buy pills in order for you and Ru-Er to take a tonic and practice austerities?" Concubine Qin thought about it. If they want to check, then let them do so. All these years, Mother had secretly stashed some. Even if she checks the account books and find out something is wrong, she won't be able to check out where the money went. Concubine Qin had planned in advance. She was not stupid. In the past, she had secretly stashed money in order for Xiao Yuan Cheng to not find out. Now, it could be used in regards to Huang Beiyu and let her have no way out. Royal Court Beiyu. Xiao Ru secretly came to the outside of Liu Yunji. She stared at it for a while, scared to go inside. "Fourth young miss, when did you have time to come here?" Dong Ling walked out from the yard, smiling while looking at her. When Xiao Ru came, Huang Beiyu had felt this, so she made Dong Ling come out to have a look. This Xiao Ru was a great weapon. "Sister Dong Ling, I just wanted to come to have a look at the third sister. I was thinking that she probably was angry at father before," Xiao Ru hurriedly explained. Dong Ling shook her head helplessly. "Fourth young miss, it's you who has a kind heart and still thinks of my family's young miss. Our young miss's life is bitter. In the past, the Lord doesn't like her, and now, he even hurt young miss's heart completely," Xiao Ru hurriedly exclaimed. "This matter, I also think that father is at fault. There was nothing wrong with using the money of the prefecture, but secretly letting housekeeper Ju make movements regarding this, that is wrong. It's the fourth young miss who understands her reasoning." Dong Ling smiled. "It's cold outside. Fourth young miss, please go inside and have a seat. Our young miss just woke up." When she heard that was able to go inside the room, Xiao Ru was very happy. In her heart right now, she was a little restless. She wanted a couple of Huang Beiyu's words in order to calm down. Dong Ling personally opened the curtains to let her in, and the moment Xiao Ru got in, she raised her head to see Huang Beiyu leaning against a cushion and reading a book on the bed. "Third sister." Xiao Ru grinned, declaring in a small voice. Huang Beiyu raised her head and smiled when she saw her. "Fourth sister, you're here. Quickly sit down. It's cold outside. Dong Ling, pour some warm tea." Dong Ling walked out, grinning. After Xiao Ru sat down, she looked at her nervously before opening her mouth slowly. "Third sister, about today's matter. Today, by the Lotus Pond, I heard that Concubine Qin was insulting the royal family, and if the words were spread out, it'll cause a huge commotion. Therefore, I punished her. Is the fourth sister blaming me?" "Of course not." Xiao Ru hurriedly shook her head. "Whatever the third sister does, it's all out of reason and evidence. My mother indeed does like to cause trouble with her mouth. Third sister doesn't need to blame herself. Which real daughter would say that their mother liked to cause troubles with her mouth?" From this, she could see that this Xiao Ru, normally, is already dissatisfied with Concubine Qin. Actually, there is nothing wrong with what she was saying. It's just that today, I had interrogated housekeeper Ju, and what the housekeeper Ju had said, I couldn't believe. Huang Beiyu placed the book down, a look of worry on her face. Xiao Ru's heart pumped quickly, hurriedly answering, "Third sister, this matter, my mother indeed is at fault. But she's old and can't endure the torture within the prison. Third sister, please don't make this matter bigger than it is and send her to Ting Wei Sai." Huang Beiyu slightly curled up her lips, smiling. "We are all a family. How could I have the heart to make it a big deal towards Ting Wei Sai? What happened in our prefecture, it's better to resolve this within the prefecture." Xiao Ru let out a huge sigh. If they went to Ting Wei Sai, Her mother would go to hell for greed and she would be done forth too. Third sister's heart is kind. It's just that this matter, how does the third sister plan to take care of it? Xiao Ru carefully inquired. The master of the prefecture, 18, Huang Beiyu faintly smiled. How else would I handle this? Isn't it just going to be the same as for housekeeper Ju? As long as you guys compensate for the money lost, I naturally won't argue anymore. Compensate for the money lost. Xiao Ru's face was slightly ugly. Right then, Dong Ling came in with warm tea and heard their conversation. She said, these couple of years, concubine Qin had been cultivating the elder young master and the fourth young miss and used quite a bit of money. Plus, add on to the lord's expenses, how would they be able to make up for the money lost? Huang Beiyu nodded her head. That's right also. Big brother and fourth sister are all part of the family. It's a must that money is spent on them. It's just that I heard from housekeeper Ju that concubine Qin probably had secretly stashed some. Xiao Ru bit her lips. When she heard that she said it's a must that money was spent on them, she was secretly happy about it. This meant that Huang Beiyu still looked at her as the young miss within the prefecture. My mother did secretly store some money. However, she is quite stubborn and probably won't be willing to give it up. Dong Ling lowered her voice. Fourth young miss, my family's young miss's personality, you probably clearly know of it. The loss within the prefecture of Princess Zhong can't just be lost. Before what the concubines had used, it's fine. It's just that the secretly stored, no matter what she can't allow it. This matter, it's fine to resolve this in the prefecture. If it caused a huge commotion, you thought about how the consequences would be like. You and the elder young master are still young. The future is still bright. Third sister, if my mother is willing to give up the secretly stashes, you really won't pester endlessly about it. Huang Beiyu faintly raised her eyes. Fourth sister doesn't believe me? No. I naturally believe you. It's just that a ray of light flashed by in Huang Beiyu's eyes. Fourth sister, you probably know where the concubine Qin had hidden her things, right? If you say it out loud, concubine Qin probably won't let you go, or maybe she might break off her relationship with you. This is all unknown. Xiao Ru's eyes immediately turned red. The tears dripped down her face. It is impossible to satisfy both righteousness and benevolence. Third sister, teach me how to do this. Huang Beiyu laughed coldly in her heart. This matter, she didn't need to teach her. As long as she slightly gave Xiao Ru a backup and some benefits, Xiao Ru will definitely do sell her mother off, this type of matter. Fourth sister, a couple days from now, Empress Dowager and Princess Shi He are going back to the imperial capital. When the time comes, I will deliver a notice to the palace, begging to see the Empress Dowager and Princess Shi He. I will bring you along to the palace. Xiao Ru wiped her tears off. She stared at Huang Beiyu, stunned. What are they going to the palace together for? Dong Ling hurriedly added on, fourth young miss, how did you forget? In the past, when Princess Shi He and the Empress Dowager left the palace together in order to pray for blessings for Nanyi country, she had made a remark saying that she will not marry the whole life. She will serve upon the spirits in order to exchange for peace within Nanyi country. Since then, Princess Shi He had the intentions of choosing a talented woman who knew everything from each prefecture, accepting them as her adopted daughters. The first daughter's status is precious, so Princess Shi He just wants to choose from daughters of concubines. Xiao Ru heard this and was frozen for half a moment before she suddenly stood up. She kneeled in front of Huang Beiyu. Third sister, you are giving me this chance. This benevolence, how can I repay you back? I am just giving you this type of chance. Whether it works or not, is up to you. You are a smart one, so you naturally should understand that by being the fostered daughter of Princess Shi He, concubine Qin's reputation from before can't affect you anymore. Xiao Ru tightly held her hands. Because of excitement, her face was slightly red. She stated determinedly, I understand. My mother had made a mistake, so she originally should repaying back. Even though I am her daughter, I can't watch her make mistake after mistake. This maid had said this before. That fourth young miss is the person who knows logic and reasoning best. Dong Ling helped her up. Master above, 1, Huang Beiyu's body leaned against the soft cushion. Fourth sister, this matter, you had suffered from it. For our prefecture, what does this suffering count as? Xiao Ru bent her knee, saying, third sister, go rest. This sister will leave now. Huang Beiyu nodded her head, watching as Dongling brought her out. After a while, Dongling came back smiling. Actually, the fourth young Miss's personality was completely inherited from the Lord. In the entire prefecture, the fourth young Miss and the Lord are the closest. Huang Beiyu coldly laughed, all cold and ruthless people. The people in family Xiao are all the same. From Xiao Qi Yuan to Xiao Yuan Cheng then to Xiao Ru, they are all selfish and without affection. However, when is she not that type of person as well? Huang Beiyu stood up from the bed and walked over to the window, looking. The sky is dark. Is the young miss going out? Dongling was already clear with her schedule. When it is night, she usually would secretly go out. From the drawer, she took out a cloak for her to cover herself. Huang Beiyu turned around to exclaim, look after the housekeeper Ju properly. If Xian Yuan Cheng and concubine Qin want to destroy the evidence, they probably would make a move to housekeeper Ju. Yes, young miss, don't worry. Towards Dongling, she was absolutely comforted. Huang Beiyu snuck out from the window. Moving slickly through the night, the ghost-like silhouette flashed by the dark alleys heading towards the castle of Buyujia outside the city. Royal Court Beiyu. Under the moonlight, the young man's silhouette of waving the sword seemed to be weak. The sword in his hand moved back and forth a couple of times, attacking the wooden person but never able to exert the full potential. The face gradually revealed a given-up look. Young master, as long as you use more strength on your hand then it will be fine. The coach who was standing to the side cheered for him. I already have been using more strength. The young man pursed his lips, stating. That coach immediately didn't dare to say another word. The sword in the young man's hand aimed towards the wooden person but in his mind, it recalled back to the competition in Lingyang College today. Princess Beiyu used the vitality to stretch the horse whip straight and used it to pierce Lin Zicheng's chest. How did she bring out the power to do so? How come the move looked so simple but when he learned it, it was that difficult? How come he is unable to grasp the main points? The sword in his hand doesn't seem to listen to him. Luo threw the sword to one side, irritated. But at this time, suddenly a black ghost-like shadow appeared behind him. It held the hand which he held the sword and brought the sword back, piercing forward. The feeling in his heart was completely different. This sword and the sword in which he slashed out, the move was the same but he felt different. Within this sword, he felt like if Lin Zicheng stood in front of him, he would be able to slash him without any strength. Look at the sword in your hand clearly. This is a sword to murder someone. Came a deep but icy cold voice. Luo's body slightly trembled and his ears slowly turned red. A ball of fire had reached his face. Don't be distracted. Look again. The icy voice but as though the unfrozen lake in spring, cold but elegant and pleasant. Luo's hand was held by a pair of even smaller and delicate hands. Once again, they brought the sword out and the normal sword moves actually pierced through the wooden person's heart. Amazing. Luo was shocked. The hand loosened and the person behind moved back. In his heart, he was disappointed and hurriedly turned around. Suddenly, a ray of coldness flashed by and the sword was in front of him. Master above, too, wow. Luo called out loudly. He hurriedly picked up his sword to block, harshly beaten back a couple of steps. That coach was shocked by the sudden black silhouette. After being stunned for a moment, the young master he was supposed to protect had begun to fight with someone else. Who are you? The coach yelled, immediately rushing over after drawing the sword out. Don't come over, it's my friend. Luo yelled while using his sword to block against them. That coach was surprised. The young master's friend? This body of the black cloak was so mysterious. Could it be the rumored 11 Tian Daren? Under the cloak, Huang Beiyu's clear and cold voice was mixed with a slight smile. Have some turns against me, using the moves that I just taught you. Okay. Luo nodded his head and recalled back to the moves from before. In his heart, confidence immediately burst. Look clearly at the sword in your hand. This is a sword used to murder people. Right. This is a sword used to murder people, not used to play around. Luo Luo deeply yelled, and the moves with his sword were much quicker than before. The strength in his hand was stronger by a couple times more. Good. Quicker, don't mess up. Stay calm. On one hand, Huang Beiyu exchanged blows with him, and on the other hand, she instructed him calmly. Her sword was instructing Luo Luo's sword. Sometimes quick, sometimes slow. Sometimes right and sometimes left. The sound of the weapons clashing against each other formed momentarily fireworks. Luo Luo, from the start, was a little hurried, then slowly he was able to keep up with the moves under her instructions. One move, one form, was as quick and agile like hers. There were no beautiful moves, just simple but crafty moves. This sword was a sword to murder someone. The coach stood to the side and was flabbergasted with what he was seeing. His eyes were almost unable to keep up with the black cloak's silhouette. It's just that sometimes he could see a strand of red hair revealing itself from the bottom of the cloak as though flame burning under the moonlight. Powerful. Indeed, very powerful. Such a simple move, but from it could be seen how profound 11 Tien Daren's cultivation was. She didn't need to use any beautiful moves, and every time the sword went down, it was definitely able to take someone's life. The coach who was viewing this battle felt his blood boiling up. Don't mention Luo Luo was in the battle. His hand, almost every time it bumped against Huang Beiyu's sword, was shaken to the point it was feeling numb. But this feeling of numbness led him to become even more excited. The type of excitement he had never felt before in his whole life. Battle. This was the real battle. In the past, when the coaches fought with him, it was basically like little kids playing games. There were no frantic grapples. There was no determination of victory or loss. One competition, no matter how many tricks there are, it was only a child's play. Luo Luo fought with all he had, and even the sweat on his forehead appeared. He forcibly went against Huang Beiyu a couple 10 times before the sword in his hand was flicked in the air. Huang Beiyu placed the weapon back on the weapon shelf and then turned around, jumping on the roof. The black cloak blew around. She waved her hand at Luo Luo. Come on. Chem. Luo Luo answered. He obviously wouldn't be able to jump on there so confident and at ease. He could only choose to climb up from the ladder by the side. He slowly walked over to Huang Beiyu's side. The evening wind blew against them. Luo Luo's wet hair was softly blown by the wind. He turned around to glance at the side silhouette of the mysterious master. In his eyes, it was filled with worship. 11 Tien Daren, as it turned out beside a summoner, you are also a master in martial art. Master? No, I'm just respecting the sword in my hand. Huang Beiyu faintly responded. Master above, 3, respect the sword in your hand. Luo Luo was a little immersed in the words. Towards this mysterious master, he looked towards her in admiration. 11 Tien Daren, you, Luo Luo was hesitant. He opened his mouth and his face was a little red, not continuing to say anything more. Huang Beiyu turned her head around. Under the black cloak's gaze, it included a slight smile. What do you want to say? No, Luo Luo sat down on the roof, a little disappointed. He bit his red lips. During today's competition within the Lingyang College, I lost. Losing and winning is a normal thing within life. You just need to look upon it indifferently. Luo Luo admired her open-mindedness. But only masters could say that to a master. If he was like that and was open-minded, then that would be considered as immature. Did 11 Tien Daren hear of Princess Beiyu from the prefecture of Princess Zhong? Luo Luo raised her head to look at her. Huang Beiyu's heart thumped. She knew that it wasn't that Luo Luo had recognized it was her, but when she heard someone else mention her other status, it couldn't be helped that she acted a little unnatural. Heard of. Huang Beiyu remembered her intention of coming today. She continued to say, Princess Zhong is my benefactor. I came to Nanyi country in order to repay a kindness. This was the first time Luo Luo had heard 11 Tien Daren talk about her worry. All of a sudden, he felt their distance was much closer now. The haze in his heart suddenly was diluted by this happiness. She was talking about something so personal to her to him, so does that mean she trusts him? Her cold personality, she probably won't tell anyone else about this. Luo Luo was naively happy and forgot that he had lost the competition today. He inquired, "Then how do you want to repay the kindness? Princess Zhong had passed away for so many years. You probably can only repay the kindness on Princess Beiyu's body." Huang Beiyu nodded her head. In her heart, she was relaxed. Interacting with Luo Luo, this type of person who doesn't think of plotting schemes and is innocent, was the most relaxing. She didn't need to go around the curves, and he will naturally say it. "I heard that within the prefecture of Princess Zhong, it isn't peaceful. I think I can probably help her to make it peaceful." Luo Luo's pretty face suddenly turned serious, as though he had anger towards a common enemy like her. "The people in family Xiao, I don't like. Princess Beiyu is often bullied by them. If I had enough power, I will teach them a lesson." The corner of Huang Beiyu's lips slightly curled up. "In terms of bullying people, I can help. It's a pity that bullying people can't resolve any issues. Right, we're letting them off too easily by only bullying them." Luo Luo nodded his head, then suddenly thought of something. He used his hands and feet to climb up. He slightly moved his face a little closer over. "Do you know that the people in the prefecture of Princess Zhong would all secretly transfer their properties out and exchange it for coins, saving them up?" Huang Beiyu was slightly shocked. Who knew that Luo Luo would voluntarily say this to her? She softly coughed, asking, "How do you know this?" "I had seen this happen a couple of times. When the concubines of family Xiao come to our Bug's money farm, the shop assistants all say that they are huge customers. At that time, I didn't understand. If they were our money farm's huge customers, then the coins saved in the money farm, at least, needed to be over 1 billion. How would the concubines in the prefecture have that much money?" Luo Luo spoke the truth. Towards 11 Tian, he didn't hide anything from her. In his heart, he didn't think it was necessary to do so. Although this was the secret within the money farm, he took 11 Tian to be his friend. There was no reason not to help her. Plus, if he had said this, he could also help Princess Beiyu, so he was happy to say so. Master above, 4. In fact, in Luo Luo's heart, there was no concept such as trade secret. His mind was simple. There is only the relationship between friends, there would be no scheming for benefits. Huang Beiyu is also very touched by his sincere friendship. She had been a killer in the 21st century and had assassinated all kinds of people. Those people include many business people. She knew the importance of business secrets. So if Luo Luo wasn't treating her as a real friend, he wouldn't be telling her this. "I've seen all the people in Princess Zhong's residence. Although they seem arrogant and despotic, I didn't expect them to be so bold. Even in the capital city, under the emperor's feet, they still dared to be so bold and greedy. Oh, this greed is a heavy crime. Why don't I go find the people from the Commander of Justice place tomorrow and arrest all of them? Then they can interrogate them strictly," Luo Luo said. Huang Beiyu shook her head lightly and said, "We don't need to alarm the Commander of Justice's residence. Otherwise, we will inadvertently alert our enemy. Whatever Sir 11 Tian says to do, I will do them all," said Luo Luo. He blinked his eyes with an excited look on his face. This brat is straightforward and honest, she likes his personality. Of course, she wouldn't do anything that would make things difficult for Luo Luo. As long as there is any concrete evidence, she would be able to play concubine Qin and concubine Shui to death. She secretly instructed Luo Luo a few things. Her mood was very good. Sure enough, having a large family as a backer could save her a lot of trouble. "Young Master Luo Luo, come down quickly. The old master is here." The coach suddenly ran in and shouted in a low voice towards the roof. Luo Luo frowned. His bright smile suddenly collapsed. Huang Bei, you probably could guess why he suddenly became so dejected. Today, he had lost the competition at Lingyang College. It must have been a huge blow to him. After all, even Huang Beiyu, who had always been known as rubbish, had won. As a man, Luo Luo probably can't help but feel disappointed. Glancing at Luo Luo's expression, Huang Beiyu patted his shoulder and said, Don't look so bitter. Today when you sparred with me, wasn't your skills amazing? How am I amazing? I know you deliberately let me do that. Luo Luo peeked at the wisp of red hair under her cloak. He was a bit shy, but he was secretly happy to be praised by her. I've said it before, I respect my sword. Since the sword is in my hand, I will not take it as a joke. Luo Luo's heart beats wildly. Just as he was about to say something, the voice of the clan head, Sai Sai, came from beneath the roof. So, it's 11 Tien who is here. My apologies. Luo Luo, how can you treat the guest like this? Why did you bring the guest to the roof? How rude. Luo Luo had a wronged look on his face, but Huang Beiyu said, Clan leader, don't blame young master Luo Luo. I came up here myself. From the roof of your residence, one can see the entire Lin Huai city. The Bug family's mansion is located in an extremely high location. It was able to overlook the entire imperial capital. The scenery was truly quite beautiful. She pulled Luo Luo up and floated down from the roof like a cloud. With such skills, even the experienced and knowledgeable clan head Sai Sai was secretly amazed. This 11 Tien is truly not ordinary. Luo Luo, you go in first. Father will speak a few words with 11 Tien. Sai Sai sent Luo Luo away. Although Luo Luo was unwilling, he couldn't go against his father's words, so he left. Clan head Sai Sai, if you have something to say, just say it. Huang Beiyu said as she walked to the side of the weapon rack. Master above, 5, clan head Sai Sai didn't beat around the bush. He directly asked, Sir 11 Tien has interacted with Luo Luo a few times. What do you think of his talent? Huang Beiyu was stunned. What does Sai Sai mean? He knew his own son the best, didn't he? Why did he ask her? Young master Luo Luo is intelligent and he diligently studies. In terms of talent, Luo Luo is indeed lacking a bit, Huang Beiyu said. However, looking at how he was sparring with me just now, I found out that he is very smart, agile, and not dull. Seeing one move, he would predict the next. Ordinary people would not be able to compare to him. Sai Sai stroked his short beard and laughed loudly. You are too courteous, 11 Tien. If you think I'm saying this because I'm being polite, then you're insulting Luo Luo, Huang Beiyu said coldly. No, no. Sai Sai hurriedly shook his head, his expression was somewhat gratified. I am just very happy that in your eyes, your esteemed self is still able to give such a high evaluation to Luo Luo. Huang Beiyu looked at him coldly but didn't say a word. Sai Sai didn't continue with the previous topic, he said, I wonder which family does an expert as your esteemed self has come from? I'm alone. Huang Beiyu looked at Sai Sai and gradually understood what clan head Sai Sai was up to. He wants to win her over. The Bug family is one of the most powerful families on the Cart continent. There are many experts within the Bug family. Many experts of the continent would choose to rely on the Bug family. This was because, due to Bug family's strong backing, they would have nothing to worry about. Sai Sai stroked his beard as he pondered. You are very powerful, but have you ever thought that in the continent, one person is always lacking in power? With a hand gently supporting her chin, she turned her head and said indifferently, Clan head's intention, I understand. Sai Sai laughed. He didn't feel embarrassed at all. Wise people don't speak in a roundabout way, Shi Tian is straightforward. Clan head Sai Sai is also a straightforward person. Just say it. Sai Sai crossed his arms behind his back and took a few steps forward, letting out a heavy sigh. He said, I have always hoped to train Luo Luo to be my successor, but his interest never rested on the family's business. He only wants to become someone powerful. Without a choice, I've also recruited many experts to teach him, but his talent is limited. After saying that, Sai Sai turned around, a glint of light flashing through his deep and astute eyes. I heard from the coach about your teachings to Luo Luo. If you could take him in as a disciple, is this the condition clan head Sai Sai is proposing? No, definitely not. Sai Sai said firmly, it's just one of my wishes. It is a great honor for you to join our family. Why would I offer you any conditions? Huang Beiyu pursed his lips. No one could see her face under the cloak. However, the cold and clear aura that she gives off still made clan head Sai Sai feel uneasy. After quietly waiting for a while, Huang Beiyu slowly spoke out, "I won't join the Bugye family." Clan head Sai Sai didn't hide the disappointment on his face. However, he was someone who had gone through great wind and waves, so he just bitterly smiled. He regretfully said, "I respect your wishes. However, I would like to have a mutually beneficial relationship with the Bugye family." Huang Beiyu's voice was light, but it was hard for anyone to resist. Master above, 6, however, I really wish that the family of Bugye is the relationship of mutually cooperating and benefiting each other. Huang Beiyu's voice was faint, but it led people to have the feeling of unable to reject her. Of course, the matter with Luo Luo is not collaborating. Sai Sai listened to this. The sentence before talked about cooperating, and he thought that there was no problem with this. After all, a master joining the family of Bugye, wasn't that also the relationship of mutually cooperating with each other? They need a master's prestige and power to stabilize their family's power. On the other hand, the masters would want to use the family Bugye's strong influence in order for them to stand on the mainland steadily. It's just that when they joined the family, in the future when they do something outside, they need to take the matters of the family as a priority. They would be restrained by a little bit. If it was just the relationship of cooperation, 11 Tian is 11 Tian while family Bugye is family Bugye. They will not interfere with each other. When needed, they will help each other. This type of relationship was quite well. In his heart, Sai Sai was preparing to agree, but he heard Huang Beiyu's sentence after. He was stunned before revealing a delightful look. What 11 Tian Daren's meaning is you are willing to accept Luo Luo as your apprentice. It's not that simple to be my apprentice. The sufferings that one would face is more than others by 10 times. Tell me about it. After clan leader Sai Sai went back to ask about young master Luo Luo's opinion. Huang Beiyu exclaimed this without expression. Don't need to ask. I am willing to. Obviously, I am willing to. What does suffering count as? I love suffering. Luo Luo suddenly jumped out from the yard, excitedly declaring. The corner of Huang Beiyu's lips curled up. Luo Luo's attitude was the exact same as hers when she formally became an apprentice to her master. What does suffering count as? As long as she was able to become powerful, she loved suffering. Clan leader Sai Sai was chuckling. He glared at Luo Luo, a little indulging. The adults are speaking. How can you be outside trying to eavesdrop? This is impolite. Quickly apologize to 11 Tian Daren. Oh no, your master. Luo Luo's huge eyes blinked a couple times. He looked towards Huang Beiyu, full of shock. Master above, this apprentice knows that he is wrong. Clan leader touched his beard, smiling. Today, it's getting late. It's too rushing. Tomorrow, I will prepare for the grand ceremony for formal apprentices to meet their masters so Luo Lu can worship 11 Tian Daren as master. It's fine without a ceremony. Since Luo Luo calls me master, I will instruct him. The ceremony for apprentices meeting their masters was just a process. There was no huge meaning behind it. Plus, this matter might cause a huge racket and won't benefit Luo Luo in any way. They need to know that those who stood high up, the more people who wanted to harshly slam them down. Luo Luo is still young and innocent. This type of harm, he can't endure it. Clan leader Sai Sai had also thought of this. He nodded his head, saying to Luo Luo, Luo Luo, kowtow once to your master. Offer a cup of tea. The etiquettes are still required. Yes. Luo Luo kneeled down and kowtowed 3 times. The servant immediately placed the hot tea in his hand. He raised it up with both his hands, delivering it to Huang Beiyu. Master, please drink tea. Huang Beiyu faintly smiled, taking it over. She used the cup to cover up while she sipped. Get up. You are worshipping me as master, but I have nothing to gift you. The swordplay from before, I will demonstrate it a complete time. You look at it carefully. Many thanks, master. Luo Luo was incomparably excited. The first time that he had worshipped a master, he was able to learn 11 Tian Daren's swordplay. How could he not be happy? Clan leader Sai Sai looked at the two people, gratified. He waved his hand towards the servants on two sides and he also left secretly, leaving this place to the pair of apprentice and master. Under the moonlight, the black silhouette moved naturally and flowingly. Although the actions were slow, the light of the sword had formed an invisible net. It was just like a real one in the sky, not scattering even after a long time. Master above, 7, as the black cloak passed by, it was accompanied by the cold light of the treasure sword. There were killing intent everywhere. Practice hard, I'll come back tomorrow. Yes, Master. Take care. As soon as Luo Luo finished speaking, a huge white ice swan spirit bird flew down from the sky. Huang Bei Yu jumped onto the bird and a cold wind blew past them. One person and one bird had already flown far away. Luo Luo looked with adoration. Master is so powerful. He also wants to become an expert. One day, he wants to be able to soar through this sky together with her. The sword danced in his hand as the bright moonlight shined on the treasured sword. A cold ray of light flashed across Luo Luo's black and resolute eyes. The massive body of the ice swan spirit bird streaked across the sky. In the distance, Princess Zhong's residence could be seen. Under the night sky, balls of fire appeared, and thick smoke billowed out. Looking at it carefully, wasn't that the direction of the flowing cloud pavilion? Her heart tightened as she immediately rode her ice swan spirit bird and flew toward the flowing cloud pavilion at lightning speed. Dongling was still in the flowing cloud pavilion. Steward Ju and Pei Yu were also locked inside. The people who set the fire probably thought that she was in there too, so they didn't stop and just set it all on fire. They can destroy evidence and even blame it on the people of the Duke of An's residence. Truly poisonous. Fire. Quickly put out the fire. Put out the fire. Get water. Put out the fire. Princess Zhong's residence has already become a mess. The fire had spread rapidly. The maids and servants did not dare to enter and could only splash water on the surroundings, but it was completely useless. The people outside were also alarmed. The people from the residence of Duke An were watching with wide eyes. The surrounding commoners had also run out of their homes to watch. It was a huge mess outside. In the residence, Xiao Yuan Cheng and the other concubines had also woken up, but none of them dared to approach. They only stood far away from the fire and commanded the servants to go and extinguish the fire. Poor third miss, how did a fire start here? Concubine Qin hypocritically wiped away her tears, perfectly matching her deathly pale face. She really portrayed a sad feeling well. In my opinion, it's a form of retribution. This is simply retribution for the kind of people who are cold and ruthless, have no filial piety, and no respect for their elders. When Xiao Ling saw the roaring fire, she couldn't help but want to add more firewood to the fire. Her heart was filled with joy. Yesterday, she had wanted to make peace with Bei Yu, but that girl was too arrogant. Now, do you see it? This is called retribution. Linger. Concubine Fang tugged her sleeve. Don't speak nonsense. She's your little sister. What sister? I don't have a sister like that. Xiao Ling pushed off Concubine Fang's hand. Concubine Fang is a frail woman. She immediately fell backward to the ground with just one push. When she raised her head, all she could do was look sadly at her daughter. They're both born from the same bloodline. How are they so different? Concubine Fang said in a low voice. She didn't want the sharp-eared Xiao Yuan Cheng to hear her words. She turned around and a leg kicked her in the shoulder. Master above, 8. What did you say, you slut? Concubine Fang clutched at her shoulder, cold sweat pouring down her face from the pain. Master, before she could finish his words, the noise around them suddenly became a cry of surprise. Look, what is that? It's heading here. It's coming this way. It's so huge. It's the Ice Swan spirit bird. It's 11 Tian's Ice Swan spirit bird. Finally, someone cried out in alarm. Then, everyone followed suit. In the sky, which was dyed red because of the fire, a huge snow-white-colored mythical bird approached from the distance. It flapped its huge wings. The fiery fire rushed towards the people in the courtyard. Xiao Yuan Cheng and the other concubines immediately fled in panic. In their haste, the fallen concubine Fang was stepped on several times. No one came to help her. At the same time, a fierce fire that had rushed towards them, burning all the trees in the courtyard. Concubine Fang crawled up from the ground. The fire burned so fiercely in an instant that she couldn't see where it was going, so she ran wildly. When she felt the fire growing stronger, she discovered that she was running in the direction of Flowing Cloud Pavilion. Cries of surprise came from outside one after another. Concubine Fang was just about to turn around and flee when she suddenly felt a burst of cold wind. In the next moment, the huge Ice Luan spirit bird pounced into the blazing Flowing Cloud Pavilion. Concubine Fang looked at the scene in front of her with a shocked expression. The fire had been slightly reduced by the Ice Luan spirit bird's arrival, allowing her to clearly see the young girl that had jumped down from the Ice Luan spirit bird's back. A section of her black cloak slid down, revealing long fiery red hair as well as. Concubine Fang cried out in alarm. The Ice Luan spirit bird suddenly turned its head and glanced at her with its huge eyes. Concubine Fang was so scared that her legs went limp. Just as she was about to turn and run away, the Ice Luan spirit bird reached out a claw and grabbed her. Huang Bei Yu turned her head to look at her. Upon seeing that it was Aunt Fang, she felt a little more at ease. The third lady, Concubine Fang said stutteringly. When she was caught by the Ice Luan spirit bird, the extremely cold air sent chills down her spine despite the fact that they were the middle of the fire. Huang Bei Yu had already broken off her connection with the beast without boundaries, so hair had returned to its pitch-black color. Her appearance did not change much. Her delicate facial features were practically the same. It was just that the red-haired Huang Bei Yu looked even more imposing and fierce. But the black-haired Huang Bei Yu was a little more gentle and elegant. Although the two were different, it was only in terms of temperament. However, one could recognize her appearance with a glance. Thus, after such a long time, Huang Bei Yu continued to wear a black cloak when she appears as 11 Tian. Right now, in the middle of the fire, it was hard for her to say anything to Concubine Fang. She was very respectful towards this person, unlike Concubine Qin and Concubine Shui. Concubine Qin and Concubine Shui both had conflicts with her, making her want to cut weeds and eliminate the root. After instructing the Ice Luan spirit bird not to hurt Concubine Fang in her heart, Huang Bei Yu quickly walked into the room. The smoke rolled around, but there was no one in the room. Where was Dong Ling? That's right. Before she had left, she instructed Dong Ling to keep an eye on Steward Ju so that no one could find an opportunity to attack him. That girl has a straightforward personality. She must have seen the fire and decided not to run for her life. Instead, she went to find Steward Ju. With that thought in mind, Huang Bei Yu quickly jumped out of the window into the side room. Seeing that the door was not closed, she confirmed her guess. The fire in the side room was even bigger. It was obvious that the person who set the fire wanted to silence Steward Ju by killing him. Master above, 9, with one leg, she kicked the door that was about to be burned down. As soon as she rushed in, she immediately heard the crying and coughing sounds inside the room. Pei Yu, your father can't be saved anymore. Quickly leave. Cough, Dong Ling said as she anxiously tried to persuade her. Hearing Dong Ling's voice, Huang Bei Yu's spirit was roused. She took out an ice feather to sweep away the fire surrounding her before walking in. I'm not leaving, let go of me. Let me go. Dad, wake up, cough. Let's go Pei Yu, Dong Ling shouted. However, Pei Yu had already fainted. Huang Bei Yu rushed inside and wept the ice feathers over. The violent and raging flames were immediately extinguished. A cold aura surrounded them because of the ice feather. When Dong Ling felt the coldness, she turned around and became overjoyed. Miss, you finally came. Steward Ju, Dong Ling held the unconscious Pei Yu and her tone showed her self-blame. Huang Bei Yu looked at Steward Ju in the corner. He was pressed down by a burning wood pillar that had collapsed. He had already taken his last breath. He was already beaten by wooden planks before this, making him unable to walk. So after the fire started, he couldn't run away, he could only wait for death. Huang Bei Yu was depressed. Since Steward Ju died, then there would be one less witness. Don't know how full of themselves Xiao Yuan Cheng and concubine Qin will be, however, there was nothing she could do at the moment. She walked over to Dong Ling and took Pei Yu's hand. She then said to Dong Ling, "Quickly, let's go." Two people, one on Pei Yu's left and one on Pei Yu's right, helped her out. With Ice Feather in her hand, the surrounding flames didn't dare to approach them. When they walked into the courtyard, concubine Fang was still in the Ice Luan spirit bird's claw, trembling in fear with a stunned expression on her face. Huang Bei Yu handed Pei Yu to concubine Fang and coldly said, "Concubine Fang, you've seen my true face. Originally, I want to dispose of you. However, since I was young, you had shown me a lot of love, so I can't be an ungrateful person. As long as you keep my secret, I definitely won't hurt you." Concubine Fang immediately nodded her head. "Third miss, I won't say anything. With how powerful you are now, there's now hope for the residence of Princess Zhong." Huang Bei Yu trust concubine Fang a little. When Princess Zhong was still alive, concubine Fang was one of the few people who was able to talk to Princess Zhong for a while. Although her personality was cold, she treated Princess Zhong with complete courtesy and respect. On the other hand, she didn't pay much attention to Xiao Yuan Cheng. Princess Zhong had treated her much more affectionately than other concubines. After Princess Zhong had passed away, Huang Bei Yu was often bullied in the residence, and it was also concubine Fang who had repeatedly protected her. Otherwise, if it was concubine Shui or concubine Qin who had seen her true face, she wouldn't have shown the slightest bit of mercy and end their life. "Let's go out first." Huang Bei Yu nodded towards the Ice Luan spirit bird. The Ice Luan spirit bird opened its mouth wide, thick ice shards immediately came out and the flames in front of them completely disappeared. At the same time, the Ice Luan spirit bird flapped its huge wings and flew up into the fiery red sky, disappearing in the next moment. The few of them supported each other as they slowly walked out of the flowing cloud pavilion. The people standing outside of the flowing cloud pavilion didn't even dare to make a sound when they saw the people coming out. Some of them that were carrying buckets of water immediately went up to her to receive credit. "Third miss, are you all right? This fire was too strong. No matter how much we tried to extinguish it, we weren't able to. Third miss, you must have been frightened. Third miss's luck is great, blessed with great fate. Floods of good fortune filled the heavens, so of course, she's safe and sound." As the sounds of chatter filled the air, the gazes of the crowd grew increasingly respectful as they looked at her. What a joke. The person who went to save them just now was the person who has the most influence and the strongest power, the great master Shi Tian. Princess Bei, you must have some relationship with Shi Tian, to have him rescue her. Master above, 10. Although these people didn't say anything, in their hearts they understood. This Princess Bei Yu was someone they shouldn't provoke. Huang Bei Yu's face was gloomy and she raised her hand. Those maids and servants didn't dare to say anything, all moving to one side. "Bring Pei Yu off and find a doctor to check her out." Huang Bei Yu's gaze moved to the front, looking at Xiao Yuan Cheng and concubine Qin, those in the far distance and afraid to come closer. The ice coldness inside her clear eyes felt pressuring. It was still fine for Xiao Yuan Cheng, but concubine Qin directly moved a couple steps back from that gaze, the heart thumping rapidly. Huang Bei Yu slowly walked up and the gloomy eyes were too terrifying, so no one dared to say anything first. Compared to Dong Ling and Pei Yu, her body was considered fine. There was not a dirty place on her face. It was clean but filled with a severe imposing manner. Cough, Xiao Yuan Cheng coughed. The voice was dry as though it had been burnt by the fire from before. "Bei Yu, it's good that you're fine. Father has been worrying for you." Huang Bei Yu coldly lifted her head, icily staring at him. "Worrying for me? If father was worrying for me, how come you didn't come in to save me?" Fire was too big. Father wanted to go in but I couldn't. Xiao Yuan Cheng dryly laughed, pulling at his face. That look was really disgusting to the full extent. Huang Bei Yu sneered. "Father can't come in, but the second sister is an ice-attributed summoner and she can casually just come in to save me. How come father didn't let the second sister come save me? The normal type of fire, ice-attributed summoners, won't even place them in their eyes. Xiao Yun is already a 3-star summoner. The ice-attributed heavenly snowcat, sneezing is like pouring snow. Going into the sea of fire to save someone is like going into play. Xiao Yuan Cheng knew this point as well. Right then, he felt as though he was losing faces. The situation was dangerous. Father didn't think of this point before. When I thought of this point, 11 Tian Daren already appeared. Since her appearance, your second sister is not needed. As it turned out to be this. Looks like your daughter's life, in father's heart, whether it should be saved or not, is still to be hesitant. Huang Beiyu coldly humphed. The arctic gaze in her eyes seemed to be able to kill someone. Xiao Yuan Cheng couldn't open his mouth for a moment due to the pressuring imposing manner. Only that Xiao Yun replied, "Third sister, this fire suddenly started to burn. Who would know this are? How can you blame the father for this?" "I didn't blame the father for this. I just blame the person who set the fire up for having such a vicious thought." Huang Beiyu's eyes turned cold and the corner of her lips curled up. "That arc was icy and harsh. Those who dared to harm me, don't let me catch them. Otherwise, I will demand the same thing back 100 times more." The words said led everyone's hearts to chill. Their hair on the body stood up. Concubine Shui smiled. "Third young miss, don't harm your body from being angry. This fire might be an accident." "I also hope it's an accident." Huang Beiyu faintly smiled. "This matter, I will give to Ting Wei Sai for them to handle with. Liu Yunji, from now on, no one can walk in a step at all in order to avoid destroying the evidence." Xiao Yuan Cheng's face turned. "How come you need to bring Ting Wei Sai up? If the matter is brought to the attention of many, it won't serve us good." Huang Beiyu coldly exclaimed, "Father, housekeeper Ju already died in the fire. A person is dead in the manor. How can we not report to the Ting Wei Sai? Housekeeper Ju died." Xiao Yuan Cheng, at one point, couldn't hold it in. The face actually revealed a glimpse of happiness. He was pinched by concubine Qin in the back, then the look on his face vanished. "Dead," Huang Beiyu declared. However, before he died, he said that he said everything that should be said. What needed to be investigated, I will go do so. Return 10 times as much. 1. Xiao Yuan Cheng's face was slightly relaxed and so was concubine Qin's. So what if housekeeper Ju had confessed? He's already dead, so where would there be evidence? The result that Huang Beiyu had interrogated, only she knew. What she had claimed, who knows if she had made this up? Okay. Today's matter, let's end it here. Liu Yunji has been burnt. Beiyu, move to Rongyu Xian and live there for now. Everything there is brand new. Compared to Liu Yunji, it's better than it by who knows how many times. Xiao Yuan Cheng relaxedly exclaimed. The huge problem within his heart was now gone. From now on, he could be free from worries. This Huang Beiyu, he can just slowly soothe her. Huang Beiyu didn't have the intentions of interacting with them anymore. The reason for the fire, she still needed to investigate this thoroughly. The person who tried to harm her today, she will definitely let them pay a price for this. She just wanted to leave when a servant suddenly hurriedly came in. "Lord, the crown prince is here." Xiao Yuan Cheng was stunned. All the concubines and young misses were stunned. Right after, they were all secretly excited. The crown prince is here. Who knew the fire within the Princess Zhong's manor had led the crown prince over? Xiao Yun and Xiao Ling, a couple of the young misses, immediately began to tidy up their appearances. Before, they were getting ready to sleep, but who knew there was suddenly a fire? Everyone wore their family attire clothes out and none of them had washed up or dressed up. If they were to see the crown prince like this, it was a little out of manner. But if they go back to tidy and dress up, there wasn't enough time to do so. They hurriedly arranged their clothes and outside, came the sound of armor walking on the ground. Not only did the crown prince came, but there was also the black cavalries who patrol around Linhuai city. Xiao Yuan Cheng hurriedly led everyone out to welcome them. Within the garden, Zhong Yi was coincidentally just walking in. The black embroidered robe was gorgeous and solemn. The icy cold external led people to fear to look at him. The pitch-black eyes swept over the people in front of the Princess Zhong's manor and noticed Huang Beiyu, who stood in the back, with flimsy clothes. The heart suddenly was calmed down. Still good. He received the Black Cavalry's report that within Princess Zhong's manor, Liu Yunji, where Princess Beiyu lived, had caught on fire. He was actually scared that something might happen to her. Although it could be said that he and Huang Beiyu didn't have any interactions, she was the only kid that the imperial aunt had left. Plus, she was also the apprentice of 11 Tian. This official, Xiao Yuan Cheng, sees the crown prince. Xiao Yuan Cheng and Xiao Zhongqi, who held a military position, went up to salute. The rest of the young men all kneeled down. The women were in the back. No need for so many salutations, Zhongyi coldly stated. No expression could be seen from his handsome face. Xiao Yuan Cheng stood up and respectfully exclaimed, "Crown Prince, please come to the front hall to drink some tea. Today within the manor, there have been some matters letting the Crown Prince see a joke." Zhao Yi watched as nothing was wrong with Huang Beiyu, so he didn't say anything more. It's just that he faintly inquired, how come it had suddenly caught on fire? I heard that the fire was from where Princess Beiyu lived. Does Princess Beiyu have any injuries? Xiao Yuan Cheng hurriedly replied, report back to the Crown Prince, this fire was just an accident. Before, thank goodness 11 Tian Daren had appeared just in time and saved everyone within Liu Yunji and Princess Beiyu out. 11 Tian obviously came. Her apprentice was in danger, so how could she possibly not care? It's good that there is nothing wrong with Princess. This fire probably caused some fright for the princess. Tonight, rest earlier. Zhongyi looked towards Huang Beiyu, the tone in his voice was slightly warmer. Many thanks, Crown Prince. Huang Beiyu slightly bent her body and raised her head to see Zhongyi's slightly pale white face, which seemed to be weak. Return 10 times as much, too. Being poisoned by the heaven-swallowing red python doesn't feel good. When she was poisoned at that time, even thinking about it now, it felt uncomfortable. Although Zhongyi hadn't been poisoned much, it'll still feel uncomfortable for him. Yet he had still traveled a long distance to see her. She felt very apologetic to him, so she wanted to say a few words of concern to him. But there are so many people and she's still an unmarried young lady, so it wasn't good to say too much. Zhongyi had no intention of staying at Princess Zhong's residence to drink some tea. The fire hasn't died down yet, so everyone is still trying to extinguish the fire. It would definitely be more chaotic and busy if he stayed. After saying a few polite words to Xiao Yuan Cheng, he prepared to leave. However, concubine Qin suddenly said, "Your Highness, please wait for a second. A concubine of the residence doesn't have a high position. Logically, how could she so rudely and blatantly try to stop the crown prince?" Thus, when concubine Qin spoke, everyone in the estate shifted their gaze to her. Concubine Qin was very calm. She didn't panic at all as she slowly walked forward and knelt on the ground to give him a big bow. Zhongyi turned around. He did not know who this woman was, so he looked at Xiao Yuan Cheng. Xiao Yuan Cheng also didn't know what concubine Qin was up to. He was puzzled but immediately said, "This is this subject's third concubine. Letting His Highness see a joke." Huang Beiyu frowned slightly. Zhongyi hadn't even gotten married, so Xiao Yuan Cheng's introduction really made people feel disgusted. Who would know of his third concubine? Sure enough, after finishing his sentence, Zhongyi was still somewhat confused. But he didn't show any signs of disrespect on his face. "Your Highness." Huang Beiyu slightly bent her knees and said, "This is my big brother Xiao Zhongqi's mother, Prime Minister Qi's Shu daughter." Only then did Zhongyi nod. When he heard it was Prime Minister Qi's Shu daughter, he frowned. Although he wasn't interested in the gossip between the nobles of Linhuai City, he knew of this Prime Minister Qi's Shu daughter. That year, in the palace banquet, she was the woman who had publicly seduced the emperor's brother-in-law, Xiao Yuan Cheng. She was the woman who had humiliated his imperial aunt and made imperial father and the empress dowager extremely angry. Although he was young at the time, he still remembered. Prime Minister Qi's Shu daughter had become Xiao Yuan Cheng's concubine. But he didn't expect it to be the person in front of him. "What is it?" Zhongyi asked coldly. When concubine Qin heard Huang Beiyu's introduction, she immediately felt some resentment in her heart. Why would this girl mention her as Prime Minister Qi's daughter? Wasn't this blatantly trying to embarrass her? However, she had an even more important matter at hand, so she wouldn't bother with these matters for the time being. Concubine Qin kowtowed before saying, "Reporting to your highness, I feel that this fire is strange. I'm afraid it's not an accident but rather man-made." As soon as these words came out, the crowd burst into an uproar. Xiao Yuan Cheng immediately shouted, "Women, what nonsense are you spouting? Don't be disrespectful in front of His Highness." Concubine Qin slightly shrank back. For many years, Xiao Yuan Cheng had always doted on her. He had never gotten this angry at her before. So for a moment, she was also a bit afraid. However, Zhongyi raised his hand, signaling to Xiao Yuan Cheng not to say anything more. He then said to concubine Qin, "Continue talking." "Yes," Qin Yi shyly responded. Then she tried her best to use a gentle voice to speak. "Recently, Princess Zhong's residence has had some conflicts with the Duke of An's residence. Thus, Duke An has sent people to surround Princess Zhong's residence, making things difficult for anyone who leaves the residence. Not long ago, Duke An and his son, Xueche, had personally come to the residence and dissolved the engagement between Princess Beiyu and his son, Xueche. Return 10 times as much. 3. Princess Beiyu is young and didn't understand, so she had openly offended Duke An must have harbored hatred within his heart, so he had secretly sent people to set fire to Princess Beiyu's flowing cloud pavilion, attempting to burn her to death. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard that. It was Duke An who wanted to harm Princess Beiyu? Xiao Yuan Cheng rubbed his chin as his mind spun. He immediately understood concubine Qin's intentions. He was overjoyed in his heart. "Good Qina, after all these years, I haven't realized that you're actually a smart person. Reporting to your highness, the day the Dukans broke off the engagement, his attitude was arrogant and aggressive. He had also insulted and humiliated Princess Beiyu multiple times. He was truly being unreasonable. Beiyu's insensible nature had caused Duke An and his son to lose face. But I would have never thought that he would actually resort to murder. Duke An is truly ruthless. These past few days, he had been constantly suppressed by the people of the residence of Duke An, making him dissatisfied. At this moment, he must seize this opportunity and throw all the dirty water onto the Duke of An's body." Huang Bei looked coldly at these people. These people are great at imitating the dogs and stealing the chicken, framing and setting up traps for others. However, framing Duke An isn't a bad idea. As Zhongyi listened, his brows gradually furrowed. When Duke An had broken off the marriage agreement with Princess Beiyu, Duke An had lost face. Thus, he had kept it a secret. However, news had still leaked out and he had also heard about it. For a moment, he felt his heart brimming with pity for Huang Beiyu. Ever since Imperial Aunt had passed away, how had an orphan girl like her managed to survive in such a large manner? He knows about the rules of survival in big families. He had thought that she would be neglected in the residence, but he didn't expect that even the Duke of An would dare to break off the engagement and humiliate her. A trace of heartache suddenly rose in Zhongyi's heart as he spoke coldly. "I will thoroughly investigate this matter. If it's really done by the people of Duke of An's residence, then there'll be no mercy." Xiao Yarrow was overjoyed. Even the Crown Prince was furious. The people from Duke of An's residence would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Not waiting for him to finish being happy, Huang Beiyu walked up and said, "I don't dare to trouble your highness. We should hand this matter over to the people under the Commander of Justice. The Commander of Justice, Geng Zhong, will definitely enforce the law impartially." Zhongyi gave it some serious thought before saying, "Commander of Justice, Geng Zhong is a reliable person. He's impartial and can handle matters flawlessly. I'll be reassured if this matter is handed to him." "Thank you, Your Highness." The corner of Huang Beiyu's mouth rose. That Commander of Justice, Geng Zhong, is a very fierce character. He doesn't show the slightest mercy to anyone. The matters that enter his hand would definitely let the truth come to light. The person who set fire to kill her today is probably so scared that he wants to die. Huang Beiyu turned her head to look at kneeling concubine Qin, who wanted to frame Duke An, and Xiao Yuan Cheng, who was very happy just a moment ago. The subtle expressions on their faces right now really makes people feel refresh. They thought that by making Zhong Yi angry, the people from the Duke of An's residence would suffer. But they would have never imagined that in the middle of their plan, Huang Beiyu would jump out and hand this matter to the commander of justice. Gang Zhong was simply a piece of stinky stone, cold and hard. Once he arrives, everything that had happened in Princess Zhong's residence would definitely be exposed. Return 10 times as much, for, when the time comes, it's not as simple as just setting the fire up and killing someone. There was also secretly storing wealth and corruption involved. These matters, none of it can escape. Maybe then, even all the sufferings that Huang Beiyu had to endure within the manor would be revealed. This led each one of them. How could they feel calm about it? From Xiao Yuan Cheng, to concubine Qin, concubine Shui, and the young misses who were stroking their hair coquettishly, right now each one of their faces was like the color of dirt. Zhong Yi left a line of black cavalries in front of Princess Zhong's manor to protect them and drove away from the people from Angua Gong's manor. Then he brought his people along, leaving. Concubine Qin was held by Xiao Zhongqi and slowly stood up from the ground. She wasn't able to stand still yet when Xiao Yuan Cheng slapped her, letting you act on your own. Xiao Yuan Cheng shouted out loud, flustered and exasperated. But once he thought of Huang Beiyu who stood to the side, he didn't dare to say or do anything excessive. He could only, with his hands clasped behind his back, leave panting in rage. Concubine Qin was steadily slapped that the corner of her lips was dripping blood. Tears dropped down. She had followed him all these years, and which matter did she not consider for him first? Now that today, only such a small matter had occurred, he was going to slap her. Concubine Shui coldly exclaimed, "Sister Qin, before you do anything first, you need to consider carefully before doing, otherwise you might harm yourself in the end." After she finished, she coldly smiled. Looking towards Huang Beiyu, with a gentle voice, "Today, the third young miss had endured quite a fright. From the start, your body hasn't been that well. I had boiled some ginseng soup. Later on, let your second sister bring some over to help with the shock. Have a good sleep and tomorrow morning, it will be fine." Troubling concubine Shui. Huang Beiyu couldn't reject it either. She nodded her head and looked towards concubine Shui and the others. Then she brought Dong Ling along to Rong Yuxian. This dissolving moon pavilion wasn't like flowing cloud pavilion. It was at Princess Zhong's manor's most secluded place. The dissolving moon pavilion and by Shui Yuan, which is where concubine Shui lived, were only separated by a small pond. The two could be viewed from a distance and it was convenient to walk around. Walking on the road, Dong Ling exclaimed with worry, "How come young miss had agreed to drink concubine Shui's ginseng soup? I see that she definitely doesn't have a positive motive. I naturally know that she doesn't have a positive motive. But, I am guessing that she isn't that stupid. If she were to poison the ginseng soup and I end up dying from drinking it, she would have to face the consequences. Such a stupid action, concubine Shui probably won't do this." What the young miss had considered is accurate. Then what should we do? Huang Beiyu slightly smiled. Don't inadvertently alert the enemy. See what they bring over first. It's the young miss who is smart. Dong Ling proudly declared. As though complimenting the young miss was like complimenting herself. Wait for tomorrow when the commander of justice, Gang Zhong, comes. This matter of setting the building on fire will naturally be investigated. When the time comes, we don't need to be soft-hearted at all. The smile at the corner of Huang Beiyu's lips slowly fainted. The elegant face suddenly included a trace of sullenness. Investigate for the truth to come to light. I am naturally happy. Those who want to harm me, it's not even enough to make mincemeat out of them. But however, young miss, please don't think randomly. Dong Ling realized what she was thinking about. She immediately got scared. Although the Lord doesn't treat the young miss well, a tiger, though cruel, will not devour its cubs. It's already come to this point. Saying honest words, I don't care about the affection between father and daughter anymore. This type of thing, I had never had before. If he is heartless, then don't blame it on me for being unjust to him. Huang Bei stopped her footsteps and punched the pillar within the hall. Immediately, on the wooden pillar, there was a faint punch mark. Return 10 times as much, 5. Dongling looked at her with a pained expression. Why? If only the master doted on the young miss like the way he loved and doted on the second and fourth miss, how nice would it be? Why does master dislike such a good person like young miss? He even wanted to inspect every nook and cranny of Dissolving Moon Pavilion even though there wasn't anything suspicious there. Huang Bei entered the room. Dongling had already cleaned up the room. This place was bigger and more luxurious than the Flowing Cloud Pavilion. Third miss, our young lady has brought you the ginseng soup. There was someone knocking on the door. Huang Bei signaled to Dongling with her eyes, and Dongling went to open the door. Sure enough, it was Xiao Yun who personally brought in the soup and saw Huang Bei sitting on the bedside. She smiled and said, "Is third sister preparing to sleep? Quickly drink the ginseng soup." Huang Bei smiled as she received it. When she smelled it, her eyebrows knitted together. As expected, it wasn't poisonous. However, if one takes a closer look, they could still smell the scent of medicine. Her body was immune to poisons, so there was no problem with drinking anything. She took a sip in front of Xiao Yun and set it down. It's already so late and yet second sister still came to give me medicine, I feel really guilty. When Xiao Yun saw her take a sip, the worry in her heart finally disappeared. Initially, she had thought that Huang Bei would be very cautious and refuse to drink. But now, there was no need to worry. Third sister, what are you talking about? Since I'm the older sister, I naturally should take care of you. Xiao Yun smiled, it's already late at night. I won't disturb your rest any longer. Dongling, hurry and send second big sister off. No need. Xiao Yun waved her hand and led her servant Xia Ni out. Once she left, Huang Bei took the bowl and spat out all the medicine. Dongling's eyes widened slightly as she smiled. Where did young miss learn such a technique? You can even talk with soup in your mouth. I'll teach you next time. Huang Bei smiled, she knows how to do a lot of things. I'll go out for a bit. After picking up the black cloak, she left. Xiao Yun brought Xia Ni and hurried back to the Jade Water Courtyard. She looked around before closing the door of the Jade Water Courtyard. Doesn't this show that she has a guilty conscience? Huang Bei's black figure soundlessly went up to the roof. Listening to the sound, she lifted up a piece of brick and looked inside. It was Concubine Shue's room. Concubine Shue had just taken a shower and lit incense in her room. She was currently combing her hair with a comb. All the maids in the room had left. Mother, she drank it. Xiao Yun walked over happily and put her arm around Concubine Shue's shoulders. This time, I can finally rest easy. You personally watched her drink it? Concubine Shue was a little unsettled. Why was everything so smooth? Wasn't Huang Bei very intelligent? Yes. Xiao Yun said resolutely, looking at her appearance, I'm afraid she has suffered quite a bit of shock today. Only then did Concubine Shue let out a relaxed smile. After drinking this medicine, she'll be like Princess Zhong, sick to the point where even immortals wouldn't be able to save her. She'll die after spitting out a mouthful of blood. A cold light flashed in Huang Bei's eyes when she heard Concubine Shue mention the death of Princess Zhong. Indeed, it was her who had poisoned Princess Zhong that year, resulting in the sudden death of the normally healthy Princess Zhong. Such a vicious woman. She's ungrateful, cruel, and unscrupulous. Xiao Yun blinked and asked curiously, Mother, is it true that even a doctor can't figure out this medicine? Of course, this medicine is very secretive. Even a refining pharmacist wouldn't be able to figure it out. Concubine Shue smiled coldly. Mother, how did you get such an amazing medicine? Return 10 times as much, 6. Concubine Shue's face suddenly turned serious and she faintly smiled. She turned around to pay Xiao Yun's hand. Yun, this matter, don't ask too much. Quickly go sleep. Xiao Yun pouted, Mother is hiding it from me too. It's not that this mother wants to hide it from you, but even if you know this matter, There's nothing beneficial to you. Concubine Shui lightly soothed her, finally soothing Xiao Yun to sleep. The room was quiet and the faint incense spread across the air. The indistinct fragrance was able to float outside. Huang Bei Yu tightly stared at Concubine Shui only to see that she was staring at the copper mirror. She pulled at a strand of her hair, coldly laughing. Princess Zhong, if you become a ghost, don't blame it on me. If you want to blame something, blame it on your fate. Saying this, Concubine Shui stood up and extinguished the light. She went to bed and began to sleep. Huang Bei Yu transferred the tiles back. The cold wind in night blew over and she only felt that the whole body was ice-cold to the bone. She silently went back to Rong Yuxian. Dong Ling was staring at her and raised her head to see that she didn't have a good look on her face. She called out in a low voice, "Young miss, what happened?" Huang Bei Yu took off her black cloak and placed it in her space ring. She slightly shook her head. Sitting by the edge of the bed, she drank a cup of warm tea. "Nothing. Dongling, you were more mature than me. Do you remember in the past if the mother had offended someone of incredible status? Or did she have any enemies?" Dongling had no idea why she suddenly wanted to ask this and she felt it was secretly strange in her heart. However, since the young miss had asked, she had answered honestly. Princess Zhong was kind-hearted and generous. The country's common people all love and respect her. Especially the other powerful countries within the Cart mainland, like Bei Yarrow, Shirong, Dongli, and other countries, towards Princess Zhong, they all praised her. Most of the powerful people on Cart mainland all admire Princess Zhong's personality. If something went wrong with Princess Zhong, they would all naturally come to help. Dongling didn't hear that Princess Zhong had any enemies. Is that so? Huang Bei Yu nodded her head. Princess Zhong's personality, that indeed had no other words to say. Even though she passed away for so many years, when the common people spoke of her, it was all of a thankful tone. From her childhood memories, she didn't hear that Princess Zhong had offended anyone either. Then what did Concubine Shui mean by the words today? Who was going to harm Princess Zhong? This question kept on perplexing in Huang Bei Yu's mind. The entire night, she rolled back and forth, unable to sleep. The second day in the morning, she woke up with dark circles under her eyes. The fire that started in the Princess Zhong's manor, Crown Prince Zhongyi had given to Ting Weisai to manage. Ting Weisai didn't dare to neglect. Early morning, they had sent someone over. Because this was Princess Zhong's manor, in the past this Ting Wei Gangzhong was recommended to positions by Princess Zhong. This led him to take the seat of Ting Wei steadily. Otherwise, with Gangzhong's honest and just attitude as well as his stubbornness, who knew how many times he would have offended the influential officials and be pulled down from his position. Therefore, in the morning, Ting Wei Gangzhong personally came as well. He came early to salute to Princess Bei Yu. Although Xiao Yuan Cheng's heart was dissatisfied, he was unable to offend Gangzhong. Therefore, he could only invite him over to the front hall, containing thoughtful etiquettes. He let him drink some tea and sent people to ask for Princess Bei Yu's presence. The whole night, Huang Bei Yu didn't sleep well. The face, naturally, wasn't good-looking. When she was held by Dongling out, the originally weak body seemed even paler and withered. Xiao Yun's face brightened. In her heart, she secretly grinned. Mother's medicine, as expected, was powerful. That Gangzhong was a handsome man in his 30s. His face was serious and didn't smile. He was tall and with the temperament of a martial arts man. He had been in charge of the prison for many years. Return 10 times as much. 7. Gangzhong was a handsome man in his 30s. He had a stern face, unsmiling expression, and a tall and straight back. He exuded the temperament of a military man. He had been in charge of prisons for many years. Thus, he emitted a majestic yet cold aura. The people standing in front of him didn't dare to move. The moment Huang Bei Yu walked in, Gangzhong could immediately tell that she was Princess Bei Yu. He immediately stood up. Gangzhong stepped forward, his clothes fluttered as he knelt on the ground, bowing to her. Commander of Justice, Gangzhong greets Princess Bei Yu. Commander of Justice, please get up, Huang Bei Yu quickly said. The official position of the Commander of Justice was very high. Even though she is a princess, there was no need for him to be so courteous. Yet Gang Zhong had performed all the etiquette before he was willing to rise. This action made everyone in the hall extremely unhappy. They all felt resentment in their hearts. This time, I will investigate the matter of the arson and find out what happened. I will give the princess an explanation, Gang Zhong said in a serious tone. He swept his cold eyes across everyone's faces in the hall. Everyone shuddered and shrank back simultaneously. Thank you, Commander of Justice. Huang Bei Yu slightly helped him up. Serving the princess is my duty. Gang Zhong took out a brocade box from his storage ring as he said this. These are 2 sleeping pills. The princess must have been frightened and feel uneasy. Princess should place these sleeping pills in the incense burner to calm your nerves and heart. Huang Bei Yu took it and laughed. How can I let you spend so much money? Dongling, bring the white jade snow ginseng pill that was given to me by old master and give it to the Commander of Justice. Gang Zhong quickly stood up. Princess, you mustn't. I can't accept this gift. Uncle Gang, this isn't a bribe. My mother had often mentioned you when she was alive, but I never got the chance to meet you. So treat this as Bei Yu is showing you filial respect. If you don't want it, then it shows that you don't consider me your friend. The way she called him Uncle Gang made Gang Zhong's heart heat up. When he heard her mention Princess Zhong, he was even more moved. He sighed, you've grown so much now and had become more sensible. Uncle Gang hasn't taken good care of you. I'm ashamed to face your mother. Don't say that, Uncle Gang. I'm already really sorry for troubling you this time. Gang Zhong said seriously, this time, I will investigate this matter thoroughly and definitely not hold back. Although this Gang Zhong was recommended by Princess Zhong for the position of Commander of Justice, he was still investigating both the residence of Duke An and Princess Zhong. Duke An's residence wouldn't hold any influence over him. However, in Princess Zhong's residence, there is Xiao Yuan Cheng. He is the Emperor's brother-in-law as well as Huang Bei Yu's father. So if he investigates, he would have his hands tied. However, when Huang Bei Yu mentioned Princess Zhong, Gang Zhong couldn't help but think about Princess Zhong's sudden death that year. What's more, he had just seen how emaciated and haggard she, HBY, is with her own eyes, so he would investigate everything without any leak. When the people under the Commander of Justice came to investigate, the people in the residence naturally took a leave of absence. They didn't attend Lingyang College, and Xiao Yuan Cheng didn't go to the military base. Flowing Cloud Pavilion, which had been half burnt, now looked exceptionally desolate. Steward Ju's corpse was carried out, while Pei Yu could only kneel on the ground, crying incessantly. Only after seeing Steward Ju's corpse with his own eyes did Xiao Yuan Cheng feel truly relieved. The news regarding Princess Zhong's residence being set on fire had already spread through Linhui City. By noon, young Master Luo Luo of the Bujie family had personally come to visit. As soon as he entered, Princess Ying Yi had also arrived. Returning 10 times as much, 8, the princess had arrived. It was another torture. Everyone within the Princess Zhong's manor all came out to salute and pay respects. Princess Ying Yi's face was unhappy. She pulled at Huang Bei Yu's hand, sitting on the main seat in the front hall. The beautiful phoenix eyes coldly stared at Xiao Yuan Cheng and a couple of young misses. She coldly exclaimed, today, what happened had spread outside. Emperor's son-in-law Xiao's deeds really lead people to be shocked. Today, due to the fact that the people within the Princess Zhong's manor were not allowed outside, so Xiao Yuan Cheng had no idea what happened outside yet. Seeing that Princess Ying Yi was that angry, he was really confused. This official is stupid. Princess Ying Yi, please explain. Princess Ying Yi harshly slapped the table, standing up. She hollered, infuriated, "You're stupid? Not only are you stupid, but you are also an idiot. You are so brave. Even Princess Zhong Manor's financial affairs, you dared to secretly store and be greedy over." Xiao Yuan Cheng's heart immediately turned heavy after hearing this. How come this matter? Even Princess Ying Yi had heard this. He was frightened badly. He hurriedly kneeled down. Princess, please investigate thoroughly. This official had been framed. Framed. Humph. This matter, before, I had just ordered for Ting Wei Gang for him to investigate this. Whether you have been framed or not, we will find out after the investigation. Xiao Yuan Cheng's thoughts immediately turned cold. The cold sweat on his forehead constantly appeared. The hands and feet were both trembling. Luo Luo, who sat in the guest seat, was actually quietly smiling. I heard Nanyi country, towards the crime of greed and corruption, punishes extremely harsh. Emperor's son-in-law Xiao, you already take the position as the son-in-law. Everything in the Princess Zhong's manor is yours, so how come you still needed to take the risk in being greedy, leading you to take on this crime? This Bug Luo Luo, although he is not a member within the royal family, Bug family's power was too vast. Likewise, Xiao Yuan Cheng was unable to offend him as well. Even if he was mocked and satirized, he could only awkwardly smile. Huang Bei Yu looked at Xiao Yuan Cheng, slowly exclaiming, before the truth comes out from the investigation, we can't accuse the father of such things. Father, first get up and take a seat. This Princess Yingyi personally ordered for the people of Ting Wei Sai to investigate the matter of Princess Zhong's manor's corruption and greed. How could Xiao Yuan Cheng still be able to sit down? Plus, he had no idea why this matter was spread out. His dream to be promoted probably is impossible. Xiao Yuan Cheng was held by the servants and he sat down, trembling in fear. He basically was like sitting on needles. Bei Yu, you're just like the imperial aunt. You both are kind and generous. That's why everyone had bullied on your head. Princess Yingyi, today, was determined to teach a lesson within Princess Zhong's manor. This morning, she had heard that Xiao Yuan Cheng was corrupting the financial affairs within Princess Zhong's manor, and this led her to be infuriated. Plus, based on the past rumors about Princess Bei Yu, how could she still sit down and not do anything? The imperial aunt isn't here anymore. But Huang Bei Yu is still part of the royal family. These people dared to bully her like this, so in the future, wouldn't they flip the sky over? Her words were especially said for Xiao Yuan Cheng and the concubines to hear. Once concubine Qin had heard this, she couldn't help to mumble under her breath, kind and generous. If this Princess Yingyi had seen the harsh look on Huang Bei Yu's face when she killed someone, she wouldn't be saying that she was kind and generous. Princess Yingyi looked at the concubines who stood by the side, coldly explaining, this type of ugly matter within Princess Zhong's manor of corruption and greed, I had seen through son-in-law Xiao. No one can escape the guilt. Everyone within this manor will be investigated. Concubine Shui and concubine Qin's faces were pale white. Princess Yingyi didn't give them the chance to talk, continuing to say, today, it's convenient that Ting Wei Gengdaran and Bug families Luo Luo is here. I will let Gengdaran bring the token in order for young Master Luo Luo to check everyone's account within the manor. Return 10 times as much. 9, I'd love to, Luo Luo said with a smile. Luo Luo, who had always been opposing Princess Yingyi, had never been so obedient. Looking at them, there was no need to even guess. It was obvious that these two people had already been agreed upon everything while they were outside. That was why they came together. They were afraid that a little 12-year-old girl would be bullied and wouldn't be able to handle such a big matter. Huang Bei Yu was touched by their sincere and kind intentions. Ignoring everyone's reaction, Princess Yingyi sent someone to get the command tally from Geng Zhong to give it to the Bug family, telling them to check the bank accounts of concubines and young masters for money laundering. Concubine Qin's vision blurred. Her head felt incredibly dizzy. She couldn't stand still and fell into Xiao Zhongqi's arms. When Princess Yingyi saw this, she had Wu Shuang move a chair over for concubine Qin to sit on. In the following period of time, the princess didn't say much. She only let Wu Huan take out the snacks she brought from the palace, placing them in front of everyone. Everyone, please have some snacks. It will take some time to check the bank accounts. Huang Bei Yu didn't act too formal. In any case, she was just waiting to see a show. Her heart felt at ease as she ate quite a few pieces of dessert. Not long after, the people sent by Princess Yingyi came back to report. Wu Shuang went out to listen, then walked in, and whispered a few words into Princess Yingyi's ear. Pa! The teacup in Princess Ying Yi's hand suddenly smashed to the ground. She shouted, "Someone come and grab those two lowly women. Drag them out and flog them to death. Your Highness, please have mercy." Concubine Qin, who was sitting on the stool, immediately collapsed to the ground, kneeling down and begging for forgiveness. Concubine Shui also knelt down in panic, begging for mercy. Princess Ying Yi's phoenix-like eyes swept across, and said with a cold smile, "Have mercy. Do you think you're worthy enough to ask me for mercy? When you were greedily trying to launder money, you should have already known that once this matter has come to light, you'll die. Drag them away." Princess Ying Yi was the most powerful princess apart from the emperor's little sister, Princess Shi He. Princess Ying Yi is born from the current empress and is most favored by the emperor. At her display of might, the entire residence was trembling with fear. The few black cavalries left behind by the crown prince from last night immediately came in, dragging both Concubine Qin and Concubine Shui out. Xiao Yuan Cheng was so scared that his entire body went limp and he didn't dare to say a single word. "Princess, please spare my mother." Xiao Yun knelt down and tightly hugged Concubine Shui's waist, not allowing the black cavalry soldiers to drag her out. "Your Highness, please show mercy." Xiao Zhongqi also knelt down. As a man, of course, he wouldn't cry, but from his strong voice, one could hear quite a bit of fear. Xiao Ru, Xiao Zhonglei, and the others also knelt down to plead on behalf of their mother. The rest of the children were all hiding in their mother's arms, not daring to speak. With such a heavy atmosphere, anyone who said a single word would die. Only Xiao Ling felt that it was fortunate that her mother was a blockhead and wouldn't do anything greedy. Otherwise, she would be the one begging in fear today. Hearing that more and more people pleading, Princess Ying Yi's face became colder and uglier. "Who is your mother?" "The only one in charge of this residence is my imperial aunt, Princess Zhong. She is your mother. These concubines are only lowly servants." Good. It turns out that after so many years, there are actually no more rules in Princess Zhong's residence. Even the emperor's brother-in-law doesn't care anymore. Xiao Yuan Cheng's expression was as ugly as a dead person, his lips trembled a few times. He couldn't do as he did before, using his identity as Huang Beiyu's father to discipline Huang Beiyu. This is because the person in front of him is Princess Ying Yi. Return 10 times as much. 10. What princess said is right. It's this official's fault for not teaching my family well. Xiao Yun and the others paled in fear. For many years, they have been used to calling their own birth mother as mother. After all, Princess Zhong is no longer alive. Because she is no longer alive, there was no one else in the residence who would care about this matter. However, they had all just realized that calling their birth mother, go against the rules. By addressing their birth mother who are only lowly concubines as mother, it would raise their status to the same level as Princess Zhong. This is extremely disrespectful considering that Princess Zhong is a princess. Furthermore, they would have to bear the crime of disrespecting royalty. Why they still here? Quickly drag them away and beat them. They are merely concubines, yet they still dare to act so arrogantly. Flog those lowly concubines to death with the rod. Their corpse is not allowed to be buried and their memorial tablet cannot enter the ancestral hall. Princess Ying Yi's gaze was full of loathing and disgust as she glanced at the concubines. The Black Cavalry didn't dare to slight Princess Ying Yi. They immediately dragged Concubine Qin and Concubine Shui out to the courtyard and ruthlessly hit them with the rod. The soldiers have to continuously hit them with the rod until they are dead. Once they receive the Commander of Justice's command token and check their bank accounts at the Bujia family, all the little tricks and schemes they had committed over the years would be exposed. Concubine Qin and Concubine Shui felt their heart turn into ash. They are being dealt by Princess Ying Yi. Furthermore, with Commander of Justice Gang here, their roads are all blocked. When the two people were hit by the rod, their blood-curdling screams resounded throughout Princess Zhong's residence. "Third sister, I beg you to say something and save the concubines," Xiao Ru cried out as she begged her. She kneeled on the ground as she walked towards Huang Beiyu's foot. Xiao Ru isn't stupid. She knows that Princess Ying Yi was doing this in order to help Huang Beiyu. As long as Huang Beiyu plea for leniency for the two concubines, Princess Yingyi would definitely give her face and stop. Huang Beiyu peacefully sat on the chair. There wasn't even a hint of sympathy present on her young and delicate-looking face. Instead, her expression was calm and indifferent. She slightly lowered her head and looked at Xiao Ru, slowly said, "Fourth sister, all the deeds that concubine Qin and concubine Shui had done has all come to light. There is concrete evidence supporting their misdeeds. Now that the matter has come to this point, I advise you to try to convince concubine Qin to tell us any other matters she had concealed. If she truthfully confesses, Princess Yingyi might spare her life." Xiao Ru's eyes were full of tears. She knew that Huang Beiyu was giving her two choices. Either she confesses all the matters that her mother had concealed, or watch her mother be beaten to death by the rod. Originally, concubine Qin was afraid that the servants in the residence would become greedy and steal the money and items. So she had hidden a portion of the money and items. In the future, when third sister comes of age, all the items and money would be given to third sister. Last night, concubine Qin had already told me to tell all of this to third sister. At the moment, Xiao Ru exposed all the money and items concubine Qin had hid for many years. The total amount of the items and money that was hidden was quite large. This made Luo Luo from the Bujie family to click his tongue in disgust. After Huang Beiyu listened, she nodded her head. Concubine Qin knows how to do things properly. As she says this, she faintly glanced at the pale-faced Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun trembled. Does this mean that she has to sell out her mother too? If she reveals all the things her mother had secretly stashed away without other people's knowledge, would Huang Beiyu really spare them? Concubine Shui's blood-curdling scream could be heard over and over again. This made Xiao Yun tremble in fear. She doesn't have much time to consider everything. If she continues to drag this on, her mother will definitely be beaten to death. She is only 16 years old this year. She isn't like Huang Beiyu, who had lived two lives. Huang Beiyu had experienced countless matters and interacted with many deceitful and treacherous people. When it comes to psychological games, Xiao Yun is definitely not Huang Beiyu's opponent. Hearing the sound of the screaming gradually weakening, Xiao Yun could only kneel on the ground and plead. "Third sister, I will admit everything. Please consider how well concubine Shui had treated you in the past and spare her. It's for the best if second sister is willing to confess. However, don't try to conceal anything." Return 10 times as much, 11. If the second sister would say it, it would be the best. However, the second sister best not hide anything. Ting Wei Daren is within the manor right now. If he finds out that you are hiding something, then even I can't save concubine Shui. Huang Beiyu harshly exclaimed. This Xiao Yun wasn't like Xiao Ru, that easy to be fooled. Xiao Yun was a woman with a scheme. She mustn't look down upon her. Yes, I will say everything. Xiao Yun cried and narrated in full detail of everything that happened while the people of Ting Wei Sai recorded this. Huang Beiyu then raised her head, exclaiming towards Princess Yingyi, "Princess, concubine Shui, and Qin haven't had the best life all these years. I think that they can be freed from death but still needed to be punished. Because you guys have served my father for all these years, leave them within the Princess Zhong's manor's prison." Princess Yingyi naturally respected her opinions, waving her hands outside. Enough. That concubine Shui and Qin were beaten half to death, lying on the ground with their last breaths. On top of the noble and grand clothes, it was all covered in blood, shocking to the eyes. Princess Beiyu is kind enough to have mercy on you guys. Quickly thank Princess Beiyu. Princess Yingyi declared coldly. "Thank you, Princess Beiyu." Concubine Shui was still able to clench her teeth and announce this. On the other hand, concubine Qin just opened her mouth when she fainted. Huang Beiyu waved her hands in regards to Xiao Yun and the group of people. "Bring the two concubines to prison." Xiao Zhongqi watched as concubine Qin was injured severely, clenching his teeth. "Princess Beiyu, the two concubines have serious injuries. You should call for a physician over to check first. I have a couple of pills used to treat injuries. In a while, I will send it over for the two concubines. Elder brother doesn't need to worry." Huang Beiyu faintly smiled. Xiao Zhongqi knew that she was purposefully making things hard for him, but there was nothing he could do. Now, Huang Beiyu had completely turned over. If he wanted to treat her like in the past, there is impossible. However, a nobleman taking revenge, even 10 years isn't late. He didn't believe that Huang Beiyu could be rampant forever. Seeing that concubine Qin and Shui were carried off, Princess Yingyi sat down. Looking towards Xiao Yuan Cheng, originally, the matters within Princess Zhong's manor, I shouldn't be overlooking it. However, yesterday night, the fire had burned Princess Beiyu's Liu Yunji. This news, unclear how, but it had traveled to Father Emperor's ears. Father Emperor was furious and probably will place the blame on son-in-law Xiao. When the time comes, if the Father Emperor personally asked about Princess Zhong's manor's matters, son-in-law Xiao will probably suffer, so this princess first took control of this. Yes, thank you, princess, for understanding this old official. Xiao Yuan Cheng replied, trembling. It's not understanding, but this princess will advise son-in-law Xiao that no matter what, don't cross the line too much. Don't think that you can cross the sea by a trick. In this world, there is no fire that can be covered by paper, Princess Yingyi exclaimed in a cold tone. Yes. Xiao Yuan Cheng hurriedly kneeled on the ground. Leave. I have a couple words to say to Princess Beiyu. Xiao Yuan Cheng didn't dare to neglect, hurriedly bringing the family members outside. Within the front hall, all of a sudden, it got quiet. Princess Yingyi, then, stated in a sorrowful tone, I didn't know that within Princess Zhong's manor, there were no rules. Even the concubines and Xiao Yuan Cheng dared to stir up trouble. Beiyu, all these years, why didn't you go into the palace and reveal everything to Father Emperor? It's just a small matter within the house. How can I startle the Emperor? Huang Beiyu faintly smiled. Based on Huang Beiyu's past personality, she definitely wouldn't dare to go tattletale. She had a weak body, and even the physician had said that it was contagious, so how could they let her out the door? Return 10 times as much, 12, seeing that she acted indifferently, Princess Yingyi didn't say anything more. She faintly smiled. This time, it was Luo, this small dude who had come up with a good idea. Otherwise, we don't know how to even teach these audacious slutty concubines a lesson. Huang Beiyu looked at Luo. As it turned out, it was his idea. Yesterday night, she went to the family of Bug'er with 11 tian status in order to let Luo get a hold of evidence that concubine Shui and Qin have been personally hiding money. Who knew he was that quick-witted? He used the time when Ting Wei Sai came over to investigate the matters of Princess Zhong's manor to call for Princess Yingyi over in order to resolve the issue. Luo embarrassedly touched his nose. Hey, actually, I had thought of this idea due to a master's advice. What master? Princess Yingyi inquired out of curiosity. Luo was naturally a naive person and almost exclaimed it out loud. However, he suddenly thought about it and closed his mouth. There is still class within the Imperial College. I will go now. Hey, you wait for me. I also have class. Princess Yingyi turned around to declare to Huang Beiyu, Beiyu, you don't need to be afraid. You have me, royal brother, and father emperor. A couple of days later, Empress Dowager and Aunt Shi will be back too. There are so many people with you and there won't be anyone who will bully you anymore. No one can bully me. Princess, be comforted and go. Huang Beiyu grinned. Now, only she can bully someone. Watching as Princess Yingyi and Luo left, Huang Beiyu's smile gradually disappeared. Dongling, let's go to the prison. Walking out from the front hall, she peered at Xiao Yuan Cheng who stood by the corridor, his face the color of dirt. The originally handsome and bright man seemed to have grown old by a couple of tens of years old. The eye sockets deeply fell down on his face, looking at Huang Beiyu in a pitiful way. Huang Beiyu halted her footsteps, looking at him. Father, Ting Wei Daren didn't find out anything yet. You don't need to be too worried. Go back and rest. Don't overexhaust yourself. Beiyu, Xiao Yuan Cheng hoarsely spoke. Huang Beiyu ignored him, walking with Dongling towards the prison. The prison within Princess Zhong's manor had been dim and damp for a long time. Concubine Qin enjoyed torturing people so frequently, she would leave those who didn't appeal to her in the prison. Huang Bei Yu had been closed down there a couple of times before as well. Therefore, she was quite familiar with the prison. The servant who looked after the prison led the path, holding a torch. The prison wasn't huge, and within a couple of steps, they walked towards the prison rooms. Concubine Qin and Shui were enemies. They weren't shut down here together. Concubine Qin had one room and Concubine Shui was in the one inside. Concubine Qin had been complaining about her injuries. In the past, Xiao Zhongqi was still a well-regarded young master. He had saved a couple of growth muscle pill, and at this time, he took them all out, used for Concubine Qin to heal herself. Xiao Ru was by the side, crying and sniffling. In Concubine Qin's heart, she knew that Xiao Ru had talked to Huang Bei Yu about betraying her. Therefore, she pushed Xiao Ru out of the way. She was extremely upset and disappointed. Mother, no need to say anything more. Since you think that you will have a future following her, you don't need to come to me anymore. Xiao Ru was just thinking about explaining this when she raised her head to see that Huang Bei Yu was walking in. She hurriedly closed her mouth. Huang Bei Yu smiled. Concubine Qin, don't be angry. The fourth sister is doing this for your own good. She is scared that you don't understand the times and something might happen to you, so she came out to testify. Concubine Qin, be comforted. I won't kill you. Concubine Qin glared at her, clenching her teeth. Due to the pain within her body, she couldn't really let out her anger. She could only lean on Xiao Zhongqi, tears falling down her face. Huang Bei Yu looked at them and didn't do much more. She walked in to look at Concubine Shui. Return 10 times as much, 13. Concubine Shui had just finished rubbing the medicine on her, lying weakly within Xiao Yun's arms. The moment Huang Bei Yu came inside, she immediately widened her eyes. She hurriedly sat up, not wanting to lose her faces even if she had to die in front of this girl. Huang Bei Yu faintly smiled. She took out an incense burner from her space ring, letting Dong Ling ignite it. She personally held the incense burner while walking in the prison room. Bei Yu knows that Concubine Shui likes to incense, and within this prison room, it's dirty and smelly. It can be expected that Concubine Shui doesn't have the best time here, so within Bei Yu's heart, I felt bad. After all, in the past, Concubine Shui was that nice to me. She placed the incense burner within the prison room and opened the lid of the incense burner, placing a pill in there. Right then, the smell spread across the room. The filthy stink was quite sudden, and this led people to want to throw up. The coal within the incense burner was also a lump of low-grade coal. The moment it was ignited, it kept on emitting smoke which led people to cough. What are you doing? Is this incense burner supposed to be ignited for the use of people? Xiao Yun stood up, wanting to kick the incense burner away, but the leg seemed to be kicking on a metal board. Tears fell down her face due to the immense pain. She scaredly stared at the incense burner. Huang Bei Yu actually added the restriction of the vitality energy on the incense burner. How is this possible? Only summoners could add the restriction of vital energy. Plus, they needed to be higher than a 5-star summoner in order for her to not be able to do anything about it. This Huang Bei Yu, wasn't she just a warrior? Although a golden warrior was powerful, she was still just a warrior in the end. Plus, in the past, Xiao Yun, who was a summoner, felt a sense of superiority in her heart. But now, Huang Bei Yu looked at her in disdain. A stupid person without a brain. She didn't look at Xiao Yun's surprised look. Instead, she stared at Concubine Shui, faintly smiling. Concubine Shui, do you like this smell? Cough, cough. Concubine Shui weakly coughed. Smelling that fragrance, she couldn't help to furrow her eyebrows. This smell. I added the first-rank rotten blood pill within the incense burner. The first-rank pills aren't that strong. The fragrance is ignited, and after taking this in for a long time, the body will slowly start to rot from the inside, making its way outside. Even the bones would be rotten. In the end, you will turn into a pile of blood water. Huang Bei Yu casually explained this. Then she slowly walked out of the prison room. Dong Ling hurriedly started fanning the surroundings. You have such a harsh heart. Xiao Yun screamed, wanting to fight her to death. A cold flash of light appeared by Huang Bei Yui's eyes. She moved back a step, coldly smiling. The body immediately flashed over to the back of Xiao Yun and the palm of her hand struck on her neck. She fainted. Yun Concubine Shui climbed over. Don't worry, she is my second sister. How could I kill her? Huang Bei Yu kneeled down and stared at Concubine Shui's pale white face. Concubine Shui lifted her head and gloomily stared at her, smiling. Humph. Huang Bei Yu, all these years, I underestimated you. However, don't get too cocky. You think that by killing me, you can successfully live longer. Not long after, you will be going to hell to see your mother. Huang Bei Yu peered at her, mockingly. She felt a little bad of how even till now, she had been daydreaming, thinking that she could use her as a scapegoat. Concubine Shui, you probably don't know but I am immune to all poisons. Very regretfully, all these years, you had been busy for no reason. Concubine Shui stared shockingly at her. How did I know? You sent me medicine every day and within the medicine, you included a slow poison. Each day, it will worsen my body. Finally, yesterday, you couldn't hold it in anymore and decided to include a quicker poison. Return 10 times as much. 14. How do I know? Every day, you bring the medicine over to me. Within the medicine, you placed slow poison in there. Each day, you planned to weaken my body even more. Yesterday, you finally couldn't hold it in anymore and started to include a quicker poison. That medicine combined with the previous poison could let me die obscurely, right? Concubine Shui held a pale white face on. After a short moment of silence, she started to laugh out loud bitterly. As expected, I had underestimated you. Concubine Shui had noticed just now, it's a little late. Huang Bei Yu curled up the corner of her lips. The smile seemed to be surrounded by a layer of ice. However, Concubine Shui didn't die yet before seeing the second sister excel and well regarded, right? Humph, what do you want? I don't want to do anything. I just want to know how come you had to harm my mother. Who gave you permission? Concubine Shui stared at her, stunned. Who knew she found out about this too? This girl, when did she started to plot against her? She was actually deceived all these years. Huang Bei Yu, you want to know? Well, then I won't tell you. Huang Bei Yu stood up and the face was icy cold. She lifted her leg to kick Concubine Shui within, unable to tell the good between the bad. Concubine Shui climbed back up, struggling. She smiled a little crazily. Huang Bei Yu, do you take me to be a fool? Even if I tell you, you still won't let me go. I rather die and pull you with me the whole life. As expected, you have a courageous spirit. Concubine Shui is different from the others. Huang Bei Yu exclaimed in a harsh tone, that's right. Even if you said it, I will still kill you. However, if you were to say it, I will leave a full corpse for you. Otherwise, I will be dying either way. What's the difference? Concubine Shui constantly coughed due to the smoke rising from the incense burner. Huang Bei Yu peered at her coldly, then as the concubine wishes. This rotten blood pill needs at least a month in order to corrode you fully. Within this time, if Concubine Shui isn't able to hold on, then you can commit suicide. She won't let Concubine Shui die so easily. If she did, it will be too easy on her. She can slowly taste the flavor of the rotten blood pill. Just like Huang Bei Yu all these years, she had to endure the poison's torture. It was much worse with what she had to endure compared to Concubine Shui's. Those who offended her, she will return back 10 times as much. Huang Bei Yu added the restriction of vital energy outside Concubine Shui's prison room, then left with Dongling. That Xiao Yun had fainted on the ground for a while, then slowly woke up. As soon as she woke up, she pounced on the prison door, pounding on the door that couldn't be opened no matter what. She yelled out loud, Mother, Mother, how are you? Yun Concubine Shui climbed over. The tears falling down her eyes. She wanted to hold on to Xiao Yun's hand, but because of the restriction of vital energy on the door, no matter what, she couldn't hold on to her. Mother, I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you. Xiao Yun took out the ice feather, wanting to break the restriction of the vital energy. Concubine Shui shook her head. There is no use. Yun, don't worry. Mother won't be beaten down by that slut so easily. There are some people who can save me. Right now, there is someone who can save me. Xiao Yun sniffled, inquiring, Who is it? Is it father? Humph, your father. He almost can't even save himself. Right now, mentioning Xiao Yuan Cheng, Concubine Shui revealed a face of disdain. He can't even protect his own woman, so what type of a man is he? The person that mother is speaking of, Huang Bei, you definitely can't afford to offend. Just one word and mother will be fine, Concubine Shui exclaimed with confidence, smiling weakly. Return 10 times as much, 15. Xiao Yun seemed to have hope now. Who is that person? Concubine Shui opened her mouth and just wanted to say something when she suddenly remembered something scary. She violently shook her head. Can't say. Can't say. This type of expression right now, she seemed to in a crazy daze. The face gradually revealed a painful expression. She pounded at the door, saying to Xiao Yun, Yun, quickly go. This thing, smelling for a long time, it's not that good for you. But mother, it's okay, mother will be safe. Concubine Shui widened her eyes, painfully and with resentment. Slowly, she moved back to the corner of the prison room, smelling the thick smoke within the incense burner. She unceasingly coughed. Outside the prison room, the sun was bright, which sprinkled across the ground. However, there was not a sense of warmth. Young Miss Dong Ling stared at her depressed look, a little worried. Just today, she had found out that not only did Princess Zhong pass away due to Concubine Shui, but also that someone else was behind this. The person behind this, I will definitely find out. Huang Bei, you declared with persistence. Dong Ling's eyes were slightly red and she lowered her head, sniffling. Dong Ling, don't cry. Huang Bei, you slowly exclaimed. Dong Ling sniffled. Dong Ling doesn't want to cry, but if you don't want to cry, then become stronger. No matter what happens, the tears won't fall down. She raised her head, the gaze clear but determined. Yes. Dong Ling wiped her tears, not crying anymore. Princess. A servant hurriedly ran over. Dong Ling exclaimed with anger, what type of matters allowed you to yell out loud? The servants within the manor, when they had seen Huang Bei, they were all afraid. Therefore, they politely replied, Jing Wang had ordered for people to bring some gifts over, saying that he wanted to apologize to Princess. And there is also, and what? Stop stalling. What type of look is this? Dong Ling rolled her eyes. The servant immediately replied, and Ting Wei Daren ordered for people to tie the lord up. Right now, he is inviting the princess over. Huang Beiyu's hand, which was holding Dong Ling's, suddenly tightened. Dong Ling, in her heart, had stung slightly. But her face was still considered calm. I know. Go reply to the people of Jing Wang saying that princess had been frightened yesterday night and is resting right now. It is inconvenient for her to see any guests now. Another day from now, she will prepare some gifts to go see Jing Wang. Yes. The servants received the orders and didn't dare to stay by Huang Beiyu's side, which was emitting cold air any moment longer. He hurriedly left. Dong Ling's face was pale white and looked towards Huang Beiyu. Young miss, since Ting Wei Daren is inviting, then let's go over. Huang Beiyu opened her mouth, the voice was cold. It is unclear of her emotions. Dong Ling could only nod her head. She held on to Huang Beiyu's hand and slowly walked in the direction of Liu Yunji. The people of Ting Wei Sai had surrounded Liu Yunji completely. No one was able to move close to the place. Only the people of Ting Wei Sai could go in to investigate. At this time, outside of Liu Yunji, they had caught many of the people of family Xiao and was now investigating them. This Ting Wei Gengzhong was really a harsh figure. Just under broad daylight, he dared to let the people of Ting Wei Sai carry out a punishment to the people of family Xiao. Those who were beaten by whips had considerable light punishments. When meeting those stubborn ones, they directly carried out huge punishment. Within the air, there was a sense of fresh blood and scorched skin flavor. The tragic calls rose up and down. Gang Zhong hugged his hands, coldly staring at this. Hearing that someone had reported that Princess Beiyu was here, He immediately waved his hand over and let people to bring the people suffering a punishment away so that they won't frighten Princess Beiyu. Uncle Gung. Huang Beiyu stared at the group of people, not seeing Xiao Yuancheng. Return 10 times as much, 16. There were many people here. Gang Zhong let out a low cough and said, Princess, let's talk in private. Huang Beiyu followed Gang Zhong to a place where there were a few people. When she saw his expression, wanting to speak but hesitating, she whispered, Uncle Gung, is this matter related to my father? Gang Zhong raised his head and looked at the 12-year-old child in surprise. He secretly marveled at how keen and intelligent she is. Princess, I don't know what to make of this situation. Please give me a hint, Princess. Gang Zhong lowly replied. This situation involved Princess Zhong's manners reputation and Princess Beiyu's relationship with her father. He is an outsider, one who acts according to the law. He is upright and plain-spoken, but he didn't have the heart to do so sometimes. Seeing such the young Princess Beiyu, he felt touched in his heart often. If Princess Zhong was still alive, how could this child have endured such torture? Huang Beiyu was stunned. Right after, she faintly smiled. What needs to be done, Uncle Gung Zhong, please make a decision. This is official matters. Beiyu doesn't dare to intervene. Gang Zhong sighed. As expected, she was trained by Princess Zhong, such a brilliant and intelligent girl. Uncle Gung. Huang Beiyu pondered over it, then opened her mouth. I want to see him. I am not sure if it is convenient or not. Of course it is convenient. Wait here for me. I am going to bring him over. Gang Zhong walked back to bring the person over. Dong Ling was watching her from afar. She wanted to walk over, but Huang Beiyu waved her hand, signaling her to not come over. Quickly, Xiao Yuancheng was brought over by 2 people within Ting Wei Sai. Probably it was because he watched as his subordinates had been carried out execution, and that scene was too bloody and frightening. His 2 legs couldn't stand up straight without people holding on to him. Therefore, he fell on the ground. Huang Beiyu looked at him from up above and coldly called, Father. Xiao Yuancheng's whole body trembled and he immediately raised his head. He raised his hand over, wanting to grab onto the hem of Huang Beiyu's skirt, but she had agilely dodged it. She held a face of dislike. How disgusting would it be to let him touch her? Xiao Yuancheng started to cry. Father had been framed. Beiyu, how could father try to harm you? Father is really framed. Since you are framed, father should go to Ting Wei Daren in order to speak clearly of what happened. What is the point of coming to find me then? I am not Ting Wei. I can't decide what your crime will be. Huang Beiyu coldly declared. Xiao Yuancheng was discouraged. He knew that this time, his suspicion could never be cleansed of. That Gang Zhong is a really powerful figure. Since he had obtained the evidence, then he will definitely not let him out. In his heart, it was anxiously pounding. He slowly reflected on this and he threw his head on the ground, the tears falling down his face. Beiyu, father didn't want to harm you. I just wanted to get rid of housekeeper Ju, but who knew that the people that I sent out were that unreliable and actually Huang Beiyu coldly sneered. What a great excuse. Placing the blame on other people, saying that it was someone else's mistake and he had done nothing wrong at all. Coming to this day and age, the affection between father and daughter was that light. This Xiao Yuancheng, what does he want to redeem? She isn't the innocent and immature Huang Beiyu from the past anymore. The innocent and weak one was killed by them and they didn't even know this yet. Father, now that I call you father still, it's because we indeed are connected by blood. If there wasn't this layer, based on what you have done to me in the past and what happened today, no matter what, I won't let you go. Xiao Yuancheng lifted his head, harshly gulping down saliva. He violently nodded his head. Right. I am your biological father. Beiyu, do you really have the heart to watch as father is to be beheaded? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.